Sha-la-la-la-la-la, bum-bum, Chile. What's going on, y'all? It's your boy, Hazy Rome. Welcome to the Get Coins of Die Tryin podcast, the official podcast of the Better Gaming Bureau, a.k.a. the BGB.com. We got a special episode for you guys today, but I'm going to hit it over to my man, Deep Boyce, so he can give you the download on that. Deep Boyce, what's going on, man?
Nothing, man. Just excited. We have the honor and the privilege here to have Fryda Wolff today joining us.
Oh, I like that. That was good.
Well, you got me all excited with, it just started off like Lion King, so I don't I want a Lion King.
I mean, the origins of that, I'm Jamaican. I didn't tell you that before we started that. So, I don't know if you've ever heard that in song,
No.
You never heard that?
No.
No, well, that's homework for after the podcast is over.
All right, I'll start a list.
It's going to be a long list. But thank you for joining us, Fryda. Fryda, if you don't know, if you've been living on a rock for the past couple months, Mass Effect Andromeda, one of the most anticipated games this year, 2017, is coming out March 21st, I believe, 2017. And Fryda Wolff is voicing the female lead, Sara Ryder.
I am. I'm the older sister, which is completely unverified, out of my ass information that I have decided to perpetuate on Twitter because it makes me laugh.
The best part about that is that Tom Taylorson hasn't refuted that. Like, he hasn't said, no, you're not the older sister. He's just totally ran with it.
Because he's got kids and a family and dogs and responsibility, and I'm just on Twitter being belligerent. But you know what? This is fans' fault. Because I've had so many fans asking me non sequitur nonsense questions that I don't know, can't answer, wouldn't answer if I knew anyway, that I've just started making up nonsense, and I've decided the more people ask me, the more made up stuff I'm going to make, which is going to magically become canon because an actor said it.
That's basically how it works in fandom. If an actor, director, or someone, or writer, someone who has impact on the story in some way says something, it's pretty much canon. And canon starts fights, like in forums and whatnot. Like, people will argue over how many seconds older you are than Scott, even though that's totally made up.
You shouldn't have said that. Now I feel like Joaquin Phoenix in Gladiator, where I'm just gonna pit fandoms and message boards against each other and just thumbs up or thumbs down if I live.
The funny thing is, I thought you were gonna say you felt bad, but then you just totally went off the rails with that. You were like, "Nah, I'm definitely gonna." Cause chaos.
No, I'm drunk with power now.
She's like she said before we started. She's the murder hobo.
She's the murder
hobo. The murder hobo, queen murder hobo.
Oh my goodness, the murder hobo. I mean, the murder hobo in a forum. I mean, that just sounds like. Can you give people a warning first? Are you gonna just pop in there? Start an account like Mass Effect fan. For life, 100,000 or something, and just pop in there.
All the fans do my work for me. I just put something on Twitter and they go crazy with it. I mean, even before I was announced and stuff, it was really fun watching how many people were making posts, YouTube videos, 3-hour-long podcasts talking specifically about what they don't know and just building speculation off of that. That is just magnificent, and I'm sure developers love it just as much, for they're like, oh, man.
I mean, absolutely. I can tell that BioWare's been dropping little morsels for the past 3-4 years, and people have been picking it apart. If you go on Reddit, there are threads that are dissecting each and every. I mean, there were rumors about the game taking place in Andromeda years before it was even confirmed that it would be called Mass Effect Andromeda. It's crazy, man. The data mining and the scrutiny that happens is over the top. And I ain't gonna front. I've consumed it. I haven't necessarily participated, but I'd be on forums oh, okay, well, looks like it's going to be taking place in the Andromeda Galaxy. Oh, we'll be able to play as a Krogan, which, they definitely told us we can't, but that's how forums work.
But dare to dream.
Dare to dream.
Believe in yourself, live your dreams. No, I admit. I mean, I do that. I do that for stuff I'm not even into, just to keep up with pop culture. I didn't read the books, and I haven't watched every episode of Game of Thrones. But damned if I didn't look up freaking wikis and family trees just so I could understand. Because I have to be right, and I don't know if that's me. I don't know if I should blame that on me or if I should blame that on the age of the internet. Yeah. But I have this thing. My husband just put it succinctly the other night. He's like, "You don't have to be right. You just have to be nice." And I'm like, "No, I have to be right." I have to be right, especially with something, as completely vital as fictional crap. Yeah. So, I didn't watch any of Westworld, but I kept up with the story because especially when something becomes a part of a pop culture phenomenon, whether you just want to be a part of it communally, or you just want to understand what the hell you're watching.
Sure.
Which is me. If I don't understand something well enough that I can't explain it back to you, then I'm not going to be a faker and pretend I understand what's going on in the story. No. So with something as multi-threaded as Mass Effect, I would expect no less from people than wanting to get their PhDs in it.
I mean, you should check out Westworld. It's a great show. I mean, sorry to tell you, there's a lot of talking, but
and with NPCs. No, I'm kept up with the story. I mean, I feel for the actors because I've seen what's her face.
Evan Rachel Wood?
Yeah, Evan Rachel Wood, say that it's the acting Olympics. And she's not wrong because it's she has to be go through the emotions of anger and crying, but have a completely expressionless face. Yeah. It just breaks a person apart, I can imagine. I mean, I'm just from the way in drama, when you do a massive, let's back up. If you do a BioWare game at all, I've been saying this because I mean it. If you've done a BioWare game, it's sort of like that quiet understanding between combat veterans of you've seen some shit. Once you've done a BioWare game, anyone else who's done a BioWare game, it's I see you and I feel you. Because it's boot camp doesn't really encompass it. I feel like I went in one actor and came out a completely different actor because it's such hard work. It's the way BioWare runs sessions is exemplary for the industry because they keep actors extremely well informed and into with the story so that we get everything as contextually right as we can. On the first try, they let us shoot from the hip, so we have natural, therefore right reactions. When you over direct someone, that's when it becomes fake and hammy.
Sure.
Versus just being how would you in real life feel and react to X, Y, and Z thing happening to you? But it's a crazy, constant emotional gear shift because we jump from all right, we're gonna do 5 minutes of a grieving, crying scene, jump to combat, jump to asking NPCs, so how long have you been selling rutabagas? Jump to a sex scene, jump to. So by the end of 4 hours of that, I'm usually just kind of rocking back and forth and losing my mind and having to be talked down from a ledge. So I
were
can't
sessions
imagine.
Typically 4 hours or longer than that? How long would they usually last?
In VO, sessions go up to 4 hour increments just because that's the union cutoff for payment. You you can either book someone for up to an hour at one rate, and then the next rate is for anywhere from over an hour up to 4 hours. After that, it's time and a half. But by the 5th, 6th hour, you've lost someone both vocally and mentally. You don't want that. So the way our workday is usually broken up, let's say I'm doing 2 games back to back in the same day, and they each want to do 4 hour sessions. So I would get, this is just traditional, I'd get booked 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at one place, and then I'd drive across town or wherever to the next session, which would start at 2 and end at 6, and then we're all going home by 6. But we've also been talking for 8 hours straight.
Right.
And emoting for 8 hours straight, and shoving food in our mouth and coffee and tea and just trying to sound as interested and perky as we did at 9 a.m. that day. And then go home at 6 and then shove more food in your mouth and then do whatever auditions you get in the email that night. And if you have a job the next morning, well, you can't do those auditions the next morning because you're going to go back to work. So you have to drag ass and do all your auditions that night. So it's like a constant hamster wheel. Yeah. So it's hard work.
Yeah. I mean, sounds like it.
Hats off to Evan and Rachel Wood because I didn't have to do that naked. Right? I mean, it could have been a lot worse. For all
I mean, you could have done it naked if you wanted to.
I could have, but nah.
No, that's not what we're doing.
Nah.
Oh my God, boys!
Hold on. I have to put my clothes on.
Oh, this is awkward.
Hope you play the heating bill at your house, man. It's cold in New York, man. It's cold today. I'm sitting here with my hands in my pockets, man. I'm like, damn, I'm looking at the heat like I need some I need some money to pay these bills right now. Cold. I don't know how you doing this naked.
No, I got the heat going. I'm good. I paid my bills. I'm a good boy.
Oh, swagoo.
Yeah.
So Fryda, back to the voice acting thing.
Oh yeah.
For recording that long, how do you keep, like, what's the best way? What's your recommended way of keeping your voice fresh and crisp? Because that's like, I talk for like an hour and, you know, I'm dying. Like, I can't do it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So how do you get through? I mean, at the end of a podcast that we do typically on Fridays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, for those of you who want to check it out. Twitch.tv/D_VGB. You know, at the end of that, you know, we're all like, it's time to go home. Like, we have nothing left in the tank. So how do you get through that much consistent talking? That's not easy.
No, so it's, some people I think would poo-poo the comparison, but it is no different than being any other kind of athlete where you're using the same set of muscles over and over and over again. You get smarter about picking your battles, when to push, how to use your stamina, etc. So, for example, for VO, so if I have a 4-hour session and I'm just talking at this level, I'll be maybe emotionally tired, but my vocal cords will be okay because I probably will have spared myself enough. Because let's say if I have another session of the day where I know it's going to be vocally stressful, I know I got to save it. So you have to get smart about when to go for broke, especially when you throw in stuff like all the combat and dying and burning on fire acid stuff that we do, which will destroy you.
Yeah.
For me, I learned to yell properly on Call of Duty. They took real good care of me, and those Call of Duty sessions were, first of all, they cut it off at 2 hours, which is smart. If you're doing nothing but yelling. Nothing but yelling. You got to cut it off in 2 hours because people have nothing left after that anyway.
That was advanced warfare, right?
Yeah,
okay.
For me. And and they taught me how to yell because in my first session, by 10 minutes in, I was honking. like a transatlantic goose. It wasn't good. And they told me, they're like, let's have you listen to somebody else that we've recorded so you could understand how to live through this. And so the trick is, when you're doing stuff that isn't in the shrill part of this isn't useful to you guys, but I'll get back to you, I promise. When you're using the shrillest part of your voice, this means when you're screaming and you know it, you feel it in your voice when you're getting to that shrill higher part of your voice where you're like, screechy.
Yeah.
That will end you super fast. Save that for the end for the real stuff that requires it. Like burning death, whatever, and a smart director will say that for the end. For things when it's just like grenade, reloading, you stop at the point of your voice where it would be like theatrical stage projection.
Yeah.
Where it's just shy of actually screaming. You're not actually screaming. You're just talking really loudly.
Right.
In context in a video game, it feels like, why are you yelling at me? That's what it feels like. So it reads properly and it saves the actor's voice. For you guys, for talking. If you're not chugging water like crazy, you're not helping yourself. When I remember when I was coming up and like doing panels and taking classes and stuff, you would kind of expect there to be some sort of like magic potion secret.
Yeah.
There ain't one. It's if you watch any voiceover session, the voice actor is chugging water like a fish. And we do it, and it becomes automatic. You don't think about how much you're doing it, so much so that every hour on the hour we have to pee. And if the director isn't like, all right, go take a break, we just start doing the dance and don't realize it.
Yeah.
And with a bad director, you have to say, I gotta go because it's coming out. It's coming out now.
It's coming out.
It's already, it's going. Because again, it's just like, it just becomes part of the workflow. So for y'all, first of all, don't drink cold water, and just think of it like, again, like any other athlete, any other muscle.
Yeah.
Cold contracts, heat expands.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So if you drink cold ice water, you're contracting your vocal cords and making it harder for them to work for you. You're making them cinch up, which is why voice actors, if things get bad, you drink tea. And there's a specific brand, it's called Throat Coat tea, and Slippery Red Elm is the is the thing that they put in it, and that's basically what the tea is. And anything with slippery red elm is going to help your vocal cords.
You trying to audition for a commercial right now? What's
slippery
going on?
red elm, you should sponsor me because I use so much of your goddamn product. So be drinking room temperature water, and if things get dire, have some really nice tea with Throat Coat or any other slippery red elm. But Throat Coat is just like the easy go-to brand. Like every good voice studio has a box of Throat Coat at the ready. So for for y'all who are probably not, screaming, yelling, crying, doing all those like really high stressful end of the spectrum VO stuff. Just
I don't know about that. Sometimes
I don't know. We might get real emotional today. I realize that.
I'm already getting a little emotional with that throat coat thing. It brings back the good times.
Just make sure that you're drinking water the whole time. It's not about being thirsty. Like it's not like talking makes you dehydrated.
Yeah.
You're swallowing more spit than you're able to keep up with and produce to lubricate your cords.
Does
that make sense? So
that does make sense.
So that's why we're drinking water like crazy. Voice actors aren't just really thirsty people.
Yeah.
We're just using our resources more than our bodies can keep up with ideally. It's also part of like when like if you're ever listening to talk radio and just someone sounds like they've got crackers in their mouth. Just like that really gross, macky, clicky nonsense. It's also because they've got to drink water because there's just not enough saliva to get their lips around their teeth, and so it's sticking. Their tongue is sticking to the roof of their mouth. It just sounds disgusting. All the intruders are throwing up. So more
you just put that into completely different context.
Look, every
you're right though. I know what you mean.
Every engineer in town knows what all of our insides sound like. Because they're up in our ear and every last mouth gurgle, stomach gurgle, throat noise, mouth click, that one snaggle tooth that just gets stuck on their lip and makes a smack. It's like they all know our gross, disgusting secrets because they have to listen to it. I feel so bad for them. They're numb. They're like gynecologists. They're just like, I've seen one, I've seen them all. They're all the same. But it's still disgusting. Like I'm self-conscious about it. So I'm like, oh no, I heard that. I'm sorry. I'm just going to drink more water. So that's my advice to you. Stay thirsty, my friends.
Stay. Oh, snap. We got the Dos Equis guy in here. Stay thirsty.
I think I agreed to do this because I'm looking for a sponsorship. I think that's what's happening.
We'll put you through the right channels. We'll see what we can do.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I mean, with that in mind, what kinds of, I guess, exercises or, I don't know. You can't exactly stretch, but I guess maybe warm your vocal cords up or maybe diaphragm. Techniques.
By the way, this is all in a post. So my website's just my name, FrydaWolff.com, and I made a tab called "How to Become a Voice Actor" for obvious reasons.
Right.
And I do a blog series there only because people will email me questions, and if I've answered it once, I don't want to answer it again because usually people ask the same thing. So I do have a composite post on there about because a friend asked just what you asked of like, are there any exercises I can do to quote toughen up? How do I get through yelling? What's the aftercare like? And I just picture like, a tiny set of dumbbells inside my mouth at my uvula is just like trying to lift up to get stronger. That's not a thing. So your vocal cords are not like your quads. You can't do lifting with increments to make gains. It's not a thing. Your vocal cords are these very delicate membranes that vibrate together when wind passes through. That vibration, and it's like, I mean, if you look, just to be descriptive, if you've ever looked up a visual of a camera down someone's throat showing vocal cords, it looks like a vagina. It's vocal vagina. So these too thin.
All of a sudden, he's interested. He's like, all right, he got excited.
Listen, I've been interested.
I'm down with it.
I've been interested since the red elm tea. Okay.
Slippery red elm for your throat vagina. So these vocal cords are rubbing together every time you push air through, which is why you need air to speak, right? So it creates a vibration. You're speaking and making sounds with your mouth. If you try to quote exercise these things, so like do whatever your version of heavy lifting or cardio is with rubbing these things together faster, harder, more, you end like think of, for example, metal singers, thrashers, people do like, you end up overdoing that. You end up with nodules. The nodules are scar tissue from your membranes rubbing together so hard that it's created knotty masses of tissue that is now scar tissue that is now preventing you from speaking properly and is painful. And the only way you can scoop those out is scraping them out with surgery. Ooh. So it's not a thing. It's not a thing that gets stronger. You have to treat it with a lot of respect and very delicately because you only get one set of these.
Yeah.
So the one thing you can do to warm up, so for voice actors, if we're in the car and we're driving on our way to a session that we know is going to be kind of rough, we sing, just like singing scales and That's the closest to like stretching before running or something, is like singing scales to like the highest part of your register and the lowest part of your register, gently, delicately. Don't push too hard. You don't have to impress anyone in your car. You don't have to be crazy loud. Just warm it up so that it's not such a shock.
All right, real quick. So we're going to do a little role playing here. You're in your car right now. You're heading over to another session of Mass Effect Andromeda. We need you to warm up your voice, Fryda, so that you're ready to go once you get in the studio.
So for me, some people just put on the radio or songs, and like that's not good enough for me. I was a choir kid in high school, so I just straight up go into all the way up and down, and then every different vowel, because I want to be as thorough as possible, and it kills like 2 minutes of my life while I'm waiting in LA traffic.
Yo, boys, we need to clip that out and put a trap beat to that. That was I like that. That was fire.
I'm on it.
Fryda.
It's going to be the next hit single. I got
So
you.
just choir high school level scales is the next hot thing in Mass Effect. But no, that's it. So there's no you can't get tougher. You can't put your throat through boot camp because you will blow it out and never sound the same. There's also like the legend is, for example, Emma Stone with her crazy raspy voice. She sounds like she's been choking on needles her whole life. She, as a baby, supposedly she had an insane cough that destroyed her vocal cords.
Oh, wow.
So had she not had this throat infection, she would have a completely different set of pipes. But she's got what she's got now. It's irreversible damage.
I mean, I don't know if you know about this, but Deep Voice might. Do you know if the disease or whatever the affliction she had was the vocal cord parasites from Metal Gear Solid 5? Do you know?
Yeah.
No? Maybe? Code talker? Vocal cord parasites.
The
That was the worst part about that game. I gotta be honest.
That was
One of the worst things. One of the worst things. Let me correct. I mean, every 2 seconds, my man's like
the
vocal
Wolbachia.
cord parasites. The Wolbachia.
There we go.
The Blachjana. I was like, come on, man. I don't know what you're talking about right now, man. I don't know what's going on, man. I just want to shoot people.
See, you're a murder hobo too.
What? I'm not a hobo because I got a house. So I'm just saying. You said, hey, I'm not trying to talk smack about you. You the one who classified yourself as a murder hobo.
You know what? I got that from other people. I don't know why it's called a murder hobo, because you can murder someone and still be a homeowner.
Yeah, it's a little bit misleading, to be honest with you. They should follow motion to change that. I'm just saying.
I should talk to. I got that from Matt Colville, who does a series on YouTube now. He's the sole writer over at Turtle Rock Studios who did Evolve, but he's also a DM in his superstar life, and he started a YouTube series because he got inspired by Matt Mercer on Critical Role, and that's all exploded. And he did a whole episode on murder hobos, and he talked shit about me because the one time I played D&D with him, he describes it. He says it's like taking a 5-year-old to the bank, and he's like, "What's this? How long do we have to be here? What are these numbers for? What are these numbers for? I'm so bored." And he called me a murder hobo, so blame him. I'll talk to him. I'll talk to him.
So he knighted you a murder hobo.
Yeah, he knighted me a murder hobo. That's what friends are for.
That's what friends are. But I mean, in terms of back to the warming up of the voice and all that stuff, you know a lot about the science of voice acting. Like, how did you pick all that up? Like, where did that start? Because you weren't originally a voice actor, right? I know you worked as a dev, a few years ago. So how did that transition happen?
Well, I found this wonderful website called Google.com. Put in whatever you wish to find, and you can read about it for hours and hours and hours until you can go on the internet and tell other people what to do who are too lazy to go to Google.com themselves. I mean, that's all it is. Right. It's like I was telling you guys earlier before we started. I love this. Like, my husband recently told me, you don't have to be nice. You don't have to be right. You just have to be nice. And I'm like, no, I have to be right. I have to be right. I'll die if I'm not right. So no, I'm a big nerdy Googler. So if I start off on one end and end up down a rabbit hole.
Right.
And my vocal cords are my money makers. Like, something happens to them, the whole ship goes down. That, I mean, it's where my rent comes from, and it's not like other people, I'm not saying all other people, but some people, if you get like a head cold or something, you can still go to work, and you might be uncomfortable or kind of your head's kind of hazy because you're on Dayquil or whatever. But you can still viably function and do your job. I can't do my job if I sound at all different, if anything's happened to my voice from, like, I only yell for money now. I don't raise my voice for free. Not even in my private life. If I get emotional or I get mad, I do not yell because you're not paying me.
Just keep it to the internet and use caps lock.
Because I gotta save it for someone who's paying me. If I'm I used to be that person who would like make everyone deaf at concerts with the wooing.
Yeah.
Nah, they're not paying me. That stopped. So like, yeah, I only raise my voice for money now because I got to save it. So if a voice actor's voice changes in any way, if you've already, for example, if you've got recurring roles for like, say, anything from an animated series, a video game, a series of commercials, you could lose that job. There's no loyalty because they're not. I mean, no one's loyal to you. They're loyal to your voice.
Sure.
And if you lose the thing that they want, you're of no value. So you have to protect it with your life. So, I mean, voice actors have to be just for their own longevity and their own security, because, like, there's no unemployment from the actors union, for example. If you don't work, you don't work. So, yeah, it behooves you, it behooves me to be as invested and knowledgeable as I can be about taking care of this thing. Because again, I only get one set of pipes, and when it's done, it's done.
Wow. Absolutely. I mean, your voices naturally change with age, right? I mean, in your adult life, right?
Of course.
So, what you're saying is, like, let's take Nolan North, for example, right?
Sure.
Tom Taylor's voice twin.
Yeah.
They sound crazy alike. It's honestly.
Oh, so I just real quick when the community was like, who is it? When they were guessing Nolan North for him and Laura Bailey for Sara Ryder, I was like, yeah, good, right on. One, they work a lot. They sound great.
Yeah.
And I've gotten do you guys know about voice matching in VO world? Like, so we get hired to do supplementary VO for, like, say there's a film and there's a multi-million earning actor who's too busy or too expensive to come back and redo lines that weren't recorded well.
Yeah. Tom was telling us about that. Yeah.
They hire one of us. Everybody on the planet, in the same way that they're like physical doppelgangers, or you've got, stunt people who are stand-ins who from the back look the same.
Yeah.
There is this bizarre Twilight Zone Venn diagram where if I bend my voice a certain way and you bend your voice a certain way, we meet in the middle. There's like tons of vocal doppelgangers, even amongst voice actors, which some voice actors don't like because they get really catty and competitive, and they're like, I can be only the only one, but whatever.
Right.
So there is a place where Laura Bailey and I intersect a lot. But when we talk, like me talking right now, I sound nothing like Laura. Laura talking sounds nothing like me. But if we just bend a certain way in the same direction, we sound the same. So I love that people were like, it's Laura. And I was like, it could be. But it's not. Sorry. Sounds pretty satisfying. Anyway, you were saying.
Yeah. What I wanted to ask was, I mean, so Nolan North, let's say, even though they say they're not, but let's say they did another Uncharted game, and 5 years from now, Nolan North, he's an older gentleman, and his voice has changed, and they don't want to make Nate sound older. You're saying that they would think about not having him reprise the role,
of course,
for the sake of having him sound like. So they would be like, yo, Tom Taylor, man, Nolan North, his voice is messed up, man. We calling you in, man. You got to take over the role. And Tom Taylor would be like, oh, I'm right there. I'll do it.
Absolutely. Except he sounds like Gandalf the Grey.
Voice acting is your profession, not mine. All right. I'm doing my best here. All right.
You're doing great.
I just turned my mind. I was like, all right, how do white people sound? Try to do that.
And apparently we sound like Gandalf the Grey. That's good to know. If I could sound half as dramatic as Ian McKellen, just like ordering lunch, I would like a tuna melt. I'm not a cheap conjurer of tricks. That would make my day. I would be so powerful. I would get anything I wanted.
So, I mean, that's crazy, though. Like, I mean, I don't understand it's a business. I get that. In the same way, an actor would be, they might recast an actor if an actor, gets old or gets an injury to their face or something something crazy like that. But, you often don't think about that. And, man, it's I don't know. I guess you always kind of want to believe that there's a sense of loyalty. But,
Nah, especially not for actors. We're contractors. We're freelancers. Nobody owes us anything. Like I had a pretty good laugh. So the Powerpuff Girls got rebooted and renewed, and they hired these 3 really cute, like 13, 14-year-old girls to do the new ones. And it was very bizarre. Like Tara Strong, who's I believe Buttercup from the original, or the blonde one. Who's the
Bubbles.
Bubbles, thank you. So I believe she was Bubbles.
I was gonna say you're not gonna get any names of them from me. I was like, boys, I was like, I don't know anything about Powerpuff Girls except for Mojo Jojo.
Listen, Powerpuff Girls was the shit.
I'm not saying it wasn't.
Oh gosh, Tara Strong had like a Twitter Trump storm where she was just really upset, and she's like, Cartoon Network didn't even ask me if I was okay with them recasting these roles that I did 15 years ago. Here's the thing. Voice actors, unless you are a signed, sealed, delivered, contracted creator, we don't own anything. We're invited to go participate in other people's IPs and other people's creations, but we don't own anything, and they don't owe us anything. We show up for the day, we're paid for our time in the studio, and that's the end of the debt. They don't owe us anything else. Like, even NDAs aside, there's no point in me telling you things that I have recorded for, because I don't know until they ship whether I'm in them, whatever they are, whether it's a commercial, an animation, or a game. They don't owe me that courtesy. I've been recast from stuff. Other people have been recast from stuff. I've replaced people I know.
Oh, really?
Games. And sure, not on purpose. It's like to the client's taste. The only thing they owe us is the money for the time that we took out of our day to record for them, and that's it.
When you got let go, what did they tell you? Did they tell you anything, or did you tell the agent like, we're not going to be in need of your services anymore?
Oh no, I saw auditions come through for the stuff that I was in.
Wow.
And in one particular situation, it was for a game where like they had brought me in, they had announced me, and then I saw auditions, and I was like, huh. And I just happened to be friends with the casting director. So I called him, and I was like, hey, should I bother auditioning? And in this particular case, he was like, oh, you know what? Don't worry about it. They did recast, but they also they broke up your character in like several more characters. So they just like wanted more women and different kinds of women, blah, blah, blah. So he's like, yeah, go ahead, but don't worry about it. And yes, I was very unceremoniously recasted, but like, that's not, I can't be mad. Nobody can be mad because they don't owe me anything. They paid for the time that they used me for.
True.
Yeah.
And the rest is up to them. So like, it's all good.
So that being said, when you go into an audition, when you're auditioning for a role, I mean, what do you feel like you bring to the table that other actors, voice actors don't bring? Like, what are your strengths, weaknesses? Like, if, you got replaced for a role and you're like, hey, like, would you be like, I understand. I understand what they were going for, and that I wasn't that thing. Like, I'm about
to say a bunch of hippie crap, but just like believe me when I tell you it's the truth.
Oh, bring it.
All right,
So
I
just,
like hippies. They all right.
So like, as an example, Christopher Walken was this close to being cast as Han Solo.
Huh.
So just
I did hear that.
So just like think about that for a second.
Yeah,
think
I did read about that.
Different everything would be. Everything. How you feel about Han Solo, how Han Solo romances Leia, what he's like in a crisis, because it would be what Christopher Walken would do.
Hey, imagine
changes.
that death scene. That'd be totally
Everything.
different.
Yeah. Wait, why? Why are you doing this right? I can't do it. But Kylo, you get it. So
I'm just sitting there, I like literally got silent because I was imagining that, and I'm like, oh my god, like I wouldn't want to watch that. No offense to Christopher Walken.
It killed me. What?
It's just a different, everything changes. The thing you bring is you. It's difficult to articulate that especially when, and this is like, I did my classes and stuff, and now I'm on the other end of the wall where I'm succeeding and working, right? Mm-hmm. And I get it now, but I kind of like had to go through my paces for me to understand and believe when other people tell me. The thing you bring is you. If you don't know who you are, if you're not comfortable being yourself in public or in front of strangers on command for money, then it's going to take you that much longer to get there. Like, I describe VO in general as I'm paid to show up, to have real emotions on command in front of strangers within a limited amount of time and get out. That's the job. My emotions have to be real, my reactions have to be real, and I have to believe in them strongly enough in the first place for them to believe me, because like, bad acting Bad acting is someone pretending because they're not really going through what the character is going through. So you don't believe them. So you don't connect with them. You're like, this is crap. Versus when you watch someone like say in a film or a show or whatever, and you just see on their face everything that they're going through, and you're like, oh man, and you feel it with them. Sure. because you're not a sociopath and you're a human being with feelings. And when you see someone else going through something, you feel it in your gut. That actor is really going through that at that moment, sincerely. So that's just in a cold set of rules, doing that, like let's worst case, your mom dies.
Oh damn! Chill. That's my mom.
Go through that in front of people you don't know, who you've never met until 5 minutes before you walked in the door, and it's real, and you're going through everything you're gonna go through.
I'm about to start going through that because you just talked about my mom dying. I can't think about that, Fryda.
But you gotta go there, and we don't have time, and we've only booked the studio for an hour, man. And someone else is gonna come in, and we're not gonna pay for more time. So go.
Wow.
like a dog to a whistle.
So you could cry in command, like you can do that. Cause I never figured, like I never learned like how, like I feel like that's one of the hardest things to do is to show such deep emotion. I mean, obviously, actors go through extensive training, and to a certain extent it's talent, natural talent too. But I guess the question I'm asking is what type of training, or if any, that did you go through to master that, to get used to that?
So classes and stuff, like, people are willing to take your money as long as you're willing to give it.
Sure.
If you want to be in school forever, cool, but someone else is making money off of you.
Yeah.
If you want to take acting classes forever, you can, cool, but you're paying for someone else's kid to go to college. Like, at some point you have to decide, okay, I gotta step out and do this for myself. I still see a coach, and I treat it like it's sort of like VO therapy, because I see her like every 2 to 3 months, and it's a pretty good check-in where she puts me through my paces, and she'll catch stuff. I'm paying her, she's not paying me. The majority, like 99% of my interactions with people are with people who are paying me.
Right.
So our relationship is very different, and we're on, like I've said, the time is very limited. We got to get it done, so we don't have time to like really dig on doing it better.
Yeah.
When I go to my coach, because I'm paying her and she's not paying me, she's looking at an angle where she's not pressed for time, and she's not trying to impress her boss, and she's not trying to impress her coworkers. She's just trying to like dig in me and get better. That's like my time to think about things from a different angle, where there's no time to think about it when I'm in the booth working for money. For me, going to classes was good so that on a superficial academic level, I could understand this is the protocol. When I go into a commercial job, this is what's expected of me. This is what the shorthand is. When they say punch up this word, do this melody, I can understand that. It's sort of like, just as I'm saying it, I'm picturing myself like being in surgery, and a doctor just like firing off orders. I need this many cc's, I need this tool or whatever, and just me being like on it.
Yeah,
I'm not like, where's this, where's that? Like, that becomes routine, so I can do it without thinking. But they can't teach you good bedside manner.
I see.
Like that's up to you.
Yeah.
So like you can't teach someone else. Like, you can't take someone by the shoulders and shake them and say, be comfortable, being yourself.
You're just gonna have to go through it.
Yeah, you gotta be a professional.
Yeah.
You have to decide that, what, I'm okay being raw and honest about my opinions, my feelings, and my emotions about whatever you throw at me. It's no different than me doing this podcast. I'm being honest with you guys. I'm being smart enough to not say necessarily be, offensive or whatever, because I want to work with you again if you were a client. I'm joking where I think it's appropriate, but also like if you hit me with like a question or something, I'm gonna react as like honestly and smoothly and quickly as I can, versus like hemming and hawing and squirming because, well, I'm not comfortable with how I feel about this, and like, and I'm really worried about you judge me. Like, what if you think I'm stupid? What if you think I'm stupid or no? Do you think it looks stupid? Do you think it sounds stupid? When you get stuck in that spiral of like nobody likes you and everything you do is dumb and nothing you can do is right, you can't crawl out of that. And never mind, like, be yourself in front of people. So it's like, you have to get past all of that.
Yeah. Well, don't you worry, girl, because we like you. Okay? So you don't even have to worry about that.
Oh, thanks.
I was wondering...
So like,
I'm sorry.
What? Go ahead.
No, I was wondering, was ever a moment in your career, I mean, maybe early on, where you thought to yourself, wow, this may not work out for me? Maybe you had some doubts. And
sure, when I started, because when you start, anybody who's in a creative job where someone is paying you to do the thing you do, like there's this moment of transition where you're doing the thing anyway. So if you're a visual artist or you work in, I don't know, special like visual effects with like Blender and all those programs, or you're a singer or whatever, you do the thing for free or you pay to do it for a long time because you know your experience is on the other side of the balance. So it's like experience versus ability. Your ability is kind of low when you don't have a lot of experience, right?
Yeah.
The more experience you get, like let's say, I don't know, singer, and like you pay to go to bars and do karaoke and stuff. But then you start investing in yourself and you start taking classes and you go with a vocal coach and you start paying attention, you figure out how to take care of your chords, and then you start showing up to like open mic nights and things. Eventually, if you show up and you're stubborn and you show up long enough, someone's going to notice and someone's going to give you an opportunity. Or you show up to some place that's got like an opening in a club and they're looking for a singer, you're like, I'm here, I'm ready. No one's going to tell you. You're not going to get a phone call or a certificate in the mail that says, you are ready to be a professional. You decide. Again, people are thrilled to take your money. But once you decide your experience is high enough that your ability is good enough to be paid for it, you stand up for yourself in whatever your job is and you're like, pay me. Like I have crocheted on my there's this girl, it's called Rich Bitch Stitch, and she does like she does custom needlepoint on Etsy, and for a birthday present to myself, I got "Fuck You, Pay Me" around the blue rose and put that on my booth, just to remind myself that I deserve to be compensated for my services because I am experienced enough and I know that, and not to forget that. If you're a real artist and you're a good artist, you know that you never stop learning, you never stop getting better at any point in time in your life. If you look back to how you were at X, Y, and Z 5 years ago, probably not that great. Like you guys joining this podcast 5 years ago, maybe less experienced, maybe less smooth, maybe you weren't that comfortable talking to strangers or whatever. And then think about how far you've come now. The fun is when you start to freak out because you think about how good you're going to be 5 years from now, and what you're doing now is crap. That's a terrible spiral to get stuck in, but that's where artists go. So like, or a visual artist, anytime they look at the portfolio 5 years ago, they start wincing and be like, oh my God, this is awful. I can't believe anybody thought I could do anything. And then they like look at what they're doing. They're like, oh man, I've come so far. And then it clicks, oh shit, 5 years from now, I'm going to be so much better. And what I'm doing now is garbage. Oh, I don't deserve to live. So that's like the artist's constant struggle of knowing that you can't get worse. You're only going to get better. And at some point in your life, you decide to stand up for yourself and say, like, okay, this is to anybody who's listening, don't put aspiring in your profile anywhere. Not in Twitter, not in Facebook, not in LinkedIn, not on your website. I am an aspiring game developer, aspiring voice actor. Stop it. Stop it. Because the people who see that will forever remember you as an, quote, aspiring. And that's a stink that doesn't wash off quickly or easily.
Sure.
So if you decide to commit and you really know that you really want to do the thing, just say, even before, and this is not fake it till you make it. This is you deciding for yourself who you are and what you're good at and what you're going to do with your life. I am an artist. I am a voice actor. I am whatever. But again, no one is going to there is no blue fairy that comes through your window and waves a wand and says you are now knighted, blah, blah. So that's a huge part of just the job in general. Voice acting, whatever. Especially when it's this freelance dynamic where it's me showing up and you giving me money. And there's not that many middlemen. I don't work for a corporation. Like I have agents who do negotiating and scheduling for me. But, I don't work for a corporation where I get like a steady paycheck and things just trickle down the way they trickle down. Every job is different. Every client is different. So the thing that I like to impose on people a lot is I get fired every day. Like I go to a booking for a one-off commercial and then an hour later I don't have a job again.
Wow.
So I get fired like if I did 5 jobs this week, I got fired 5 times.
I like how you laughed as she chuckled after. She's like, I got fired 5 times a day. Where's the vodka?
You get over it. Well, first of all, if you're an actor, you have to have a pet because you need to come home to someone who loves you no matter what. even if it's for food, my job is to audition as much as possible, and once in a while I get paid for it. my job is not to get jobs. This is the job. The job is not having a job.
I got you. I like that. Hustle hard. So what kind of pet do you have? I'm just going to ask that because you brought it up.
I have 2 cats. They have really small brains.
They might be listening. Shh.
No, are you kidding? It's daytime, man. They're asleep and useless. It's just like all good cats. My husband likes. I have Hoggle, who I post on Twitter a lot because he spends 90% of his life nipples up. It's ridiculous. He's 18 pounds. He's 18 pounds of floppy gray with too many nipples, and they're really obnoxious too because for some reason there's not a lot of fur around them, so there's like, and he's just like on his back, nipples up. So I just take photos and post them, and it makes people happy, and that's fine and easy. And my husband likes to say that his brain is too small for his body. Like he thinks he's a smaller cat than he is, but he's not. And then I've got this other little cat who's like an older lady who just wants to be left alone. And so when I post pictures of them, she's always giving him like really nasty side eye, and he's always like nipples up, eyes wide. So that's my life. So they're my best friends when nobody else wants me because if I starve them a little, then they'll really love me. But that's definitely the thing. Like everyone, especially in Los Angeles, everyone's got some kind of, whether it's a snake or a tarantula, just someone who loves you without judgment because the actor factory, the entertainment capital of the world, is all about judgment. And when you're not picked for something, you're not hired for something, it's because of you, because you're you, because you are not what they were looking for. Right. You, not your skill, you. It's very personal. So, I can't recommend enough. It's I put on my website on that tab, How to Become a Voice Actor. George Clooney's Inside the Actor Studio is phenomenal. There's the Q&A portion of George Clooney's set is required watching because those audiences are always made up of acting students, and they're all like hopefuls, right? And they're hoping that they can like glean some juju off of success stories. Yeah. And he does this great back and forth where someone asks about pilot season, which is when people and like TV actors go out and audition for all the programs that are coming next fall. And hoping for pilots, meaning they get on like a brand new show, maybe gets renewed after a season. Sometimes people record 8 episodes of a pilot that never makes it to air, that gets canned before it even gets put on and has a chance. So she was asking for tips, and he was like, because George Clooney's done casting, he talked about how, in short, so it depends. He's like, if I'm casting for a TV show and Sarah walks in, and Sarah's fucking crazy, bonkers, temperamental, insane, and she gives an amazing performance, I'm not going to hire her for the TV show, because a TV show, you're working with the same people every day for weeks, months. If it gets picked up for a long time, years. You want coworkers that you can deal with. Right. If he's casting for a movie, and Sarah, with her insanity, comes in and is a total nightmare, but she gives an amazing performance, she'll probably get cast for a movie because the movie is a much shorter timeline to get done. Like, it might be a couple weeks or a couple months, but it will end. And they can get the performance that they want out of her. So that goes into casting, regardless of your performance. So his point was like, I might hire a mediocre performance for someone that I can deal to work with.
Yeah, right.
On a daily basis. Yeah. You're too crazy, for example. And he talked about how when like somebody else asked, how do you just get through auditions? And he's like, well, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt because when you're rejected for being you, because something's wrong about you, and they can't see you and everything you're bringing in this production. So go in knowing that. So go in like, look, you didn't have the job before you showed up. You probably won't have the job after you leave. So just have fun with it. Just do whatever you want to do and what you think is right, and that's how you get booked. Like I say, the less I want to work, the more I work. The less I care, the more people want me, and it is no different. Like I make a lot of relationship analogies because I really do believe it's just the same. Yeah. So when you in your personal life are hurting and lonely, your self-esteem is low, and you're desperate for love, don't go around people. don't go on dates, don't go seeking love because you don't love yourself.
Yeah.
So you go on dates and you're just like, I just really want this to work out. I don't want to die covered in cat piss and like my eggs are drying up and I just like, everyone's pressuring me. I should get married. Just please love me. I really want this to work out. Do you want to have kids? Like you can't, nothing will stick. Versus, like anybody who's been through like a really tough breakup and then you spend a lot of time doing you and on yourself and doing stuff that you want to do and making yourself happy.
Yep.
Without knowing it, suddenly your self-esteem is okay because you're spending time on yourself and doing things that make you happy.
Right.
That's when people start coming around and sniffing you out and being like, hey, you seem quietly confident. You seem like you have nothing to prove because you're all up in your business. That's sexy. Can we talk? It's the same thing in acting. If I had desperation, because like, oh my God, I got to pay rent and I got insurance stuff coming up and like I don't know how I'm gonna make it through this year. If that's in my head, it bleeds out my mouth and it'll taint all of my auditions. And that kind of stinky desperation is repugnant and will turn people off. Even if it's doing something like an Advil commercial. You should buy Advil because if you're really hurting inside, it'll help. Like that's not gonna make me money.
Yeah.
But if I don't give a shit and I'm just like, Advil, it'll help you when you're feeling low. I'm gonna go do laundry now, all right? Bye. And I'll probably book it because I didn't care enough to attach just those negative, needy feelings.
Right.
Because I really need money. So that, again, like George Clooney mentions that in that Q&A, he's like, when you are desperate to work and you're just putting so much, every single audition is like life or death. That's an instant no. You don't have to say it. Like everything, people like to say in VO, the mic records everything. Literally everything that's going on in your head is going to come out your mouth. Tonally, whatever. If bad stuff is going on in your life, it's going to come out at work that day. And when you're more professional, you know how to kind of like work that in.
Sure.
Because you can't compartmentalize. You can tell yourself you can, but then just like in your private life, if you compartmentalize things that are going on and you don't deal with it until it explodes, it's very bad. Wow. So you just got to make room.
Wow. I mean, how long have you been voice acting? Just before I ask my next question, because that made me think of something.
I turned 4 in April, and I make my anniversary when I got signed with my agency because you can do VO, like there's a bajillion websites for primarily non-union work all over the world. They all, by the way, everybody listening, they all underpay. They're not regulated. Like if you wanna get good and be treated like a voice actor of worth, do yourself a favor, go to the SAG-AFTRA union rate sheet. I have it posted on my website, but you can go directly to their website and look at what their rates are. If you're doing non-union work, you should be asking the way I word it, you have to pay me minimum wage. You have to pay me union minimum wage for me to work with you. Because if I'm financial core, which means I can do union and non-union with no problem.
Yeah.
If I'm giving up time to do a non-union job, you have to pay me the minimum wage that a union job would have paid me because I'm giving up my time for you when I could have done something that's regulated.
Gotcha.
So when you go to any of these web portals, whoever's posting is not going to pay probably union minimum wage or a buyout, say for like a commercial that also wouldn't match up to union minimum wage. I used to work through those portals before getting an agent because I knew that my experience was low, so my ability wasn't that great, but also these people were getting what they paid for, right? If you're willing to pay for a rando on the internet, then you're getting less quality and the rando is learning on your dime, and that's fine. Like I used to do radio spots for major corporations for a guy who was feeding them to me for like $35, $40 a pop. And just to give you perspective, the session fee being, when you pay me for my time to go in the booth, the union minimum for 1 hour is $500.
Wow.
And this after
that's why you're a murder hobo. Wow, he was underpaying you.
Well, but after
put the hobo in the murder.
I knew this, and this guy specifically was giving me like major multi-billion-dollar corporations, but it was stuff in Spanish, and I needed it for like my demo reel and the experience. Sure. I knew what I was doing. So after a certain point, like in this particular broadcasting guy, I just sent him a letter saying, hey, these are my rates now. I completely understand if we can't work together anymore. I really appreciate your time. I was polite. And he sent me back the nastiest, I love it. The nastiest, nasty gram. Who do you think you are? You will never get paid. Like a classic abusive partner, again, in a relationship. Yeah. Like if you're in a relationship with a classic abuser, they will tell you,
who do you think you are? Why do you think you're worth that much?
You will never have it better with anyone else than you have it with me.
Yeah.
No one will treat you better. You could never survive on your own. Like if you've ever been in a real abusive relationship, these are the things you hear, all of which are completely true no matter your situation.
Sure.
Because when push comes to shove, everybody's a survivalist.
Yeah.
But a good abuser will make you feel like you're completely incapable of doing anything without them.
Right.
So this guy turned on that mechanic and was like, no, good luck finding anyone who will pay you more than I do. And I was like, thank you for your time. Because at least I was lucky enough that I had people in my corner and also the internet just to show me what I should be getting paid.
Sure.
But I went through that on purpose. So
at least you kept it classy. You weren't like, listen, man, I am not the one. Like you didn't, you didn't take it up a notch. You kept it classy. That's dope. That's good.
You have to too, because just like every industry is really tiny. Really, really, really tiny. So like if you want to burn some bridges, you better mean it. So, if you're going to fire some, napalm that son of a bitch and make it for a good reason.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, that's how. Oh, okay. So I was doing all this stuff. I was doing some crappy work for some crappy people and definitely getting underpaid all around. But it was because I didn't feel I was worth paying full rate yet. Like I wasn't comfortable promoting I didn't say I was an aspiring voice actor. I just didn't publicly say I could be a better voice actor, but I don't think I'm fully cooked yet. I don't think I'm ready to come out of the oven.
Right.
But at a certain point, I was like, okay, I'm ready now. So I got off of all those web portals, and that's when I got my demos made and did all my cold calls via email. Hi, I'm Fryda Wolff. I'm looking for an agency. Here's my website and my demos. Thank you. By hand, I sent 120-ish emails via my Gmail account with that, and just like my information to every LA agency that I could get the email from. And I got 10 responses back, which is incredible. That's not normal. It's really, really high. Mm-hmm. And then the one that I went with was the one agency that was like, they didn't want to sign me. Everyone else wanted to sign me. They didn't want to sign me. They wanted to put me in what's called a hip pocket position, which is where you're basically treated like a freelancer. You're not signed to them. They don't have exclusivity over you, but they'll send you stuff on a freelance basis just to test you out to see if you book for them. And then that agency signed me 8 months later, and I will have been with them for 4 years in April. And that's significant because legitimate agents hold the keys to where the real money is. Yeah. They make sure you get paid fairly, that you get treated fairly, that you get, again, union minimum wage and not a dime less because it's not worth your time. And it's sort of like holding out in the same way like, your friends or your partners directly reflect how you feel about yourself.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
It's a total reflection of your self-esteem and how you treat yourself. If you let yourself be treated poorly by clients, that is an abuse that will just self-cycle because you'll keep picking shitty clients or whatever. Yeah. So the agents are there to make sure that you're being treated fairly and being paid on time and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Before that, you're kind of on your own in the Wild West, and it's very difficult to negotiate. You don't get to play bad cop without pissing off and losing clients.
Yeah.
And it's much harder to justify being paid fairly versus someone who knows how to throw their weight around. So I make my anniversary 4 years because before that, I was on my own doing whatever work for whatever people. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. You have to get your experience somewhere.
Yeah.
Got you.
I was wondering, with that said, what does Fryda Wolff's hustle look like? Your day to day? How do you keep up? How do you keep yourself motivated? How do you keep, keep that momentum going so that you don't get, lazy
or
lot
of pajamas. It's a lot of pajamas. a lot of no bra.
There seems to be a lot of self-motivation that comes into this. How do you keep yourself from not staying up too late playing games, making sure you wake up early, getting out those emails like you said. It was 120 emails?
Yeah. That was just me looking for an agent.
I mean, I'm going to keep it $1.52. I'm going to piggyback off Deep Boys. I'm going to just put it out there. So we're podcasters, and we're trying to put ourselves out there. We're trying to, grow the BGB family, the Better Gaming Bureau family. And what you're saying relates a lot to what we want to do and what we're about, or we're trying to be about. And, I'm sitting here listening to you. I'm like, damn, I need this woman as my life coach. I'm like, I feel like I'm internally stepping my game up Just like, yo, as soon as this podcast is over, I'm gonna send some damn emails and I'm gonna let people know that I'm worth it. You know what I mean? Like,
if you don't ask, you don't get.
Absolutely.
Don't ask, don't get. Like my mom used to always say, God doesn't hear those who don't pray. And that's not a literal you talking to your imaginary sky friend. That is nobody knows what you want until you show up and ask for it. And the most that you lose in showing up and asking is the time. What's the worst that's going to happen? You get told no. Big deal.
No.
It's not like, I don't know, maybe part of it is just like my own kind of blasé attitude, but I've never found any rejection anywhere as like life or death. Like you get just in a regular 9-to-5 job, say retail or food service, and you go and apply for one job and you get rejected. Does that mean that you're never going to get hired ever again in your life for anything? That you should just quit? You should just kill yourself because Arby's said no, and that's the end of your life. That's ridiculous. And it sounds ridiculous in that context, but that applies to everything bigger in your life. You ask a girl for her number, she says no. Never date again. Give up on people.
Nah, it's on to the next one, Fryda. You better know that.
Exactly. So you have to remember, the thing is people forget that because they get really caught up in their own self-worth when it comes to like bigger dreams and bigger projects. Because like if this podcast is your precious baby, it's really important to you. Like if somebody, like I bet you if somebody insults your podcast or says you did a bad job, it hurts. Like it actually hurts beyond your feelings. Like it hurts you because you work so hard on this and you care so much, and because it is you. Again, like it's inevitably taking it personally because it's your baby. You have to be tough enough to keep showing up, keep doing it, and keep asking. The people you never hear about are the people who gave up and quit. And again, nobody's gonna help you along. It's just, it's up to you to be tough and push through. So with your hustle, like if you're looking for sponsorships or whatever, like very, very rarely. I mean, I know now we're in a different culture, right? Where like, for example, like YouTubers, it's so weird for me to be watching random YouTubers who just do whatever. It's like, I just do unboxing videos of like, I bought a lot of makeup today. That's not but just like everybody does like random crap on their YouTube channel, especially with millennials, 12-year-olds to 22-year-olds to 32-year-olds. Randomly, sometimes YouTubers are now getting approached by companies to do sponsored videos where like, I'm doing an unboxing and then this company sent me a bunch of hair products. So we're just going to quietly talk about it. You're not going to notice. And that's great for the content creator because they're making money and trying something new and going with it or whatever. And then sometimes if nobody knows who you are, you have to go to them first and be like, hey, I think like, Mark Maron, who was just kind of a part of, one of the bigger people who took off before podcasting took off. He still has to prove, like if he's chasing sponsors, he still has to prove I have this many listeners, this much viewership, this many downloads, Like you still have to have, you know what? This is what you need. You need to know your shit and you need to know your business. It is kind of, so nobody told me, I used to be, so I was a sound designer for games, and for a couple years in there, I was a freelancer just because like I had 2 deaths in the family within the same year. So I spent 2 years after that just cleaning that up legally.
Condolences.
So I had to be, thank you. I had to be a freelancer. And that's when I got like my first, and there's a lot of freelance audio people, and our game audio community is really small. Yeah. So I had people I could talk to about just how I should write up my contracts and what things I should prepare for, things that come up, client abuses, stuff like that. So I had a taste of being a business owner. So me as a voice actor, I am a business owner. I am the business. I own the business of me. I run the business of me. I am the service that is provided, and I am my own bookkeeper. I am my own scheduler outside of my agents, et cetera, et cetera. So nobody told me, but it just seemed like a good idea to keep a ledger, maybe. So like maybe I should write down like when I work and what I worked on and how long I worked on it for, and where did I record and who did I work for and what did we do? How many voices did we do? And was this a union job? Did my agency book it? Did I book it? Okay, cool. It just seems smart. Yeah. And then very quickly became obvious, like, Jesus Christ, how can you not know? So I can tell you down to the last cent what my gross is, what my net is, how much I've been paid outright and that I owe taxes on, because like as a freelancer, sometimes you get paid full amounts without the withholding, your tax, your state and federal being taken out. So you're going to owe that money later. Meanwhile, the client is going to claim it and you're going to get a 1099 in the mail later. So you're going to have to pay taxes for it anyway. So you might as well be prepared.
Yeah.
I started writing down the check number when I was getting paid, because sometimes there would be disputes about whether a client did or didn't pay me. And I had to have proof of, I can tell you the check number that was issued and all that stuff. It just seemed like a good idea.
Yeah.
And I would just kind of casually bring this up at like VO sessions or whatever. And I've talked about this with like the owner, founder of my agency and stuff. It is astounding, for example, how many voice actors don't do this. They don't keep track of their jobs and their income. If you ask them, so how much money have you made to date? They have no idea. Well, how many people still owe you checks? They have no idea. I am constantly, every day of the year, somebody owes me money, and somebody owes me money overdue. So in VO world, it is considered all right and courtesy and good if you pay an invoice within 90 days, which means if I work for you today, if you don't pay me until 3 months from now, we're cool. Which is funny because, I have to pay bills monthly.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's 3 months is a long ass time.
But if you pay me in 90 days, we're cool. That's just how it's done. I didn't make these rules. I just showed up and this is what I found out. So in my ledger, obviously, I'm keeping track of stuff that is more than 90 days outstanding. I've had people pay me like a year later after having my agency chase them down and stuff, because they're just like, because clients don't want to pay. Like they need everything yesterday and done and now, but they don't want to pay just for XYZ reason.
Yeah.
Wow. And the only bullet you have in the chamber is to say, no. I have had clients who like owe me something from 6 months ago and then come back to my agency and be like, we'd like to book Fryda for, no. This is the only thing, short of small claims court, the only thing I have is to refuse to work for you until you pay me for the thing that I already did.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, of course.
So, but nobody told me to do this. It just seemed like the smart thing to do. So if you're not minding your business, and I mean that in the most literal way, if you are not minding your business as far as money in, money out, that's already going to fall apart for you, because people are vultures and more than happy to take advantage of that, of you being ignorant. So if they owe you money and you forget, they're going to forget too.
You better get coins and Die Tryin. That's the name of the podcast, everybody. I mean, so, all right. So what made you switch from, working as a developer, working in the developing side of gaming, to voice acting? Because you mentioned that, you used to freelance in that arena. Like, what's responsible? What was the catalyst that, shout out to Mass Effect 3, what is the thing that brought you over to voice acting?
So I was in game development for 12 years total.
Damn, that's a long time.
Yeah, well, I got lucky. I got partly me, partly luck. I got into game development when I was 18.
Nice.
I just got my foot in the door, and like I was the last generation that now you throw a rock and there's either a full-on university program, a vocational school, a technical school, an online college. Like now it's expected for people to come in with like quote game design degrees, which didn't exist.
Yeah.
18 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
So I was the very last generation of developers where it was okay. Like, also you have to remember, back in my day, we did not have access to tools that were either downloaded for free or for a subscription. Now, if you want to make a game, you can download Unity, Unreal, mostly for free, or there's communities where they sell pre-made assets for you. We didn't have that. We would get behind the closed doors of a game developer, and then we would finally have access to licenses that cost tens of thousands of dollars a pop.
Yeah.
And then finally get to learn on the job how to do stuff, trial by fire. You don't get to do that anymore. There's no excuse. If you want to get into games, you have access to at least demo versions of everything. There's no excuse for you to show to an interview and say, I have never seen XYZ program that I'm expected to use in the workplace. But I was lucky where I could show up, be a total blank slate dumbass, and be taught by mentors. That's just my luck. Yeah. So I got my foot in the door with Sony Online. For 2.5 years, I was a game master for EverQuest, so basically customer service. And a lot of people, used to be, people would climb ranks out of customer service, tech support, or quality assurance, QA. But again, now because of schooling and access, it's less so.
Yeah.
So I got in 2.5 years of that. For a year, I was Tech of VP's assistant, and he's like, I don't know what to do with you because this is obviously dumb. And I was like, I agree. And then during that time, in that year that I was just kind of floating in space, EverQuest 2 was in production. At the time, it was the most ambitious project for VO in games ever, because it was the first time they were breaking 100,000 lines of VO for the game. Everybody in LA worked on it, and because of that, for the first time, Sony Online had an in-house audio department. They never had one before. And they got so busy, they just needed someone to be the monkey who just implemented VO coming in from recording studios. And I went for it and I got it. And so on the fly, I was lucky enough that one of the leads agreed to be my mentor and permitted me to become a sound designer. As a result, I got to be privy to all aspects of production, because the audio department was big enough where I could just sort of look over people's shoulders and be a part of every aspect of VO. So whether it was like scheduling and actually like co-directing VO sessions for EverQuest 2, or doing straight up general pipeline sound design, implementing sounds, dealing with pipeline meetings for programming. I get to do all the stuff, which was great. And then from there on, worked for Obsidian for a couple years, and then that was my 2-year freelance period. And then I was like a year and a half, maybe 2 years close to 2 years at Turtle Rock for Evolve. And then I got fired, and it was good. It's like them firing me is the best thing that ever happened. And that's not spin, because now I'm the lead of Mass Effect. So, no, and they know. So what happened there was I had, sometimes you just can't fix what you can't fix. And me and the only other sound designer had just completely irreconcilable personality conflict differences. Like sometimes you gotta call a spade, and you're like, I can't fix this.
Yeah.
So the him and the other person I was supposed to work most intimately with, it just wasn't gonna work out. And the two owners, who I still talk to, I love them very much. They're just like, they're very paternal towards me. They mercy killed me, which was great, because I was in a place where like, I can't come up from this. I can't make this better. I'm miserable. And if you get fired, that's when you can collect unemployment. If you quit, you can't get unemployment. So I was just like, I will just wait so I can collect and figure out what the hell I'm going to do with my life. At 30, by the way. And like all I've done with my adult life from 18 to 30 was working games and done nothing else. And that's really terrifying too, because you're like, this is the only thing I think I know how to do.
Yeah,
and I don't think I can start over in anything else.
Yeah.
But they let me go and just like paint the picture, like the owners carried my stuff to my car. Like it wasn't there was no animosity or hurt feelings there. And what's really funny is like I think they finally stopped. I don't think they feel sorry for me anymore, especially since Mass Effect. They were like, apologize for firing me. And then like a year and a half after that, they cast me as Kyra in Evolve.
Right.
which I had previously like worked on as a sound designer, recorded, co-directed sessions for VO. And then like they just kept apologizing by like having me do hours and hours and hours and hours of their tutorial. And I'm just like, stop, we're square, we're good. I'm in a good place. Jesus, we're even. But no, like I love those guys.
Did you get credits for both on the game, for doing both things?
I sure did.
Wow.
You can look it up. They're the guys. Turtle Rock is the studio that made Left 4 Dead. Valve did not make Left 4 Dead. Valve bought Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then supported it on the back end and finished like all the multiplayer networking stuff that would use Steam servers. But Turtle Rock made it with their bare hands. So that's why Evolve is basically versus Infected. I mean, where instead of playing the tank, you play a monster. That's where that comes from. Nice. So they're like my personal heroes, because Left 4 Dead is such an important game in the development community for multiple reasons. It was just like a groundbreaking game, so those guys are my idols. But so they let me go, and I'm 30, and it was good, because I was just so miserable and so low, and it's sort of like when you get to that place where you have nothing left to lose, that's when you get brave.
Yeah.
So at 30, I'm like, I have no other skill set, and I don't know what to do. But to back it up, for the last 4 years up to that point, as I got more involved, just as a consequence of being in the audio department, you do get involved with casting, scheduling, sometimes showing up to being. You always have a booth director who's the actor whisperer in sessions, but sometimes the client is there just to help with like context, story, pronunciation, stuff like that. But you usually hire like a professional booth director who knows what they're doing. You don't like you don't want to do it. Trust me, if like you've not done it, it's worth the money. So as a result, on my own for fun for the past 4 years, I had been going to LA, driving from Irvine. So that's like 120 miles round trip. That's like in traffic, 3 hours each way. For fun, on nights and weekends, I was taking VO classes. I did like Upright Citizens Brigade improv and stuff for my own benefit, because I just thought it would make a lot of sense if I knew what I was asking actors to do by doing it. So I would have some context, so I'm not just like an evil slave driver. And also because it's like, that stuff is just fun.
Yeah.
It's just fun. It's fun and easy to do. And also in that period when I mentioned I was 2 years freelance, the first time I was ever given money to do VO, is a girlfriend of mine was like, so you do audio, right? So does that mean you do voiceovers? And I was just like, oh, for a paying gig? Yeah, I do voiceovers. And that was my first gig ever, and it was for Costco, you have called the Costco auto program.
Holy crap. Whoa, that was like whoa, that was crazy. Like, you changed your voice completely.
Yeah, people pay me for this. Can you believe it?
I almost told boys, like, yo, who intruded on our call just now? I was like...
You know, it's really fun when my agency calls me and I'll fuck with them and be like, hello? And I'll be like, hello? Hello? And they almost hang up and I'm like, it's me. And they're like, oh, it's so weird. You were talking a different voice. You're my voice agent.
No lie, I legit bugged out because I was like, yo, like, who is this person on the call? It's like, yo, what? Like, how did that happen?
So, so it was for IVR, which I never remember what it stands for, but IVR is the phone, like any call-in phone system directory.
Yeah,
sure.
And that, and that's its own business. That's part of VO. And they still have me. It's been since 2008 or 9. Mm-hmm. So long that the guy who originally hired me has since died of cancer, which is how I know I'm old.
Wow.
And then they're still a regular client. Yeah, and that's, I mentioned this a lot, and like a lot of people get it. So the needle goes in the first time someone gives you money to do the thing that you would do for free. And you're like, oh, this feels good. This feels really good. How can I do more of this sweet you give me money drug for the thing that I would do for nothing? And so it was just like the perfect storm of like between that happening and then me always being part of the process for VO for games. It just seemed like a good idea for me to do classes and stuff. So when Turtle Rock fired me, I was like, oh, well, shit, I think I can do this thing. It was terrifying because I'm like completely shifting your professional life at 30 is terrifying, especially when you've been working since you're a teenager, because you think you've built up a set of skills in a certain industry and you're like, nope, fuck all that. The good thing is that like obviously VO is very lateral and parallel to games, right? Like I still like the nicest surprise for me now. People ask me if like, do you work a lot of games because you have friends and people you work with? No, I have to audition for everything like everyone else. My friends make me audition and they don't always hire me. Like the only thing that they feel obliged to do if they want to, if they think I'm good for something, is the courtesy of sending me the audition, but they're not obligated to hire me, and I'm obliged to say thank you. Thanks for thinking of me. That's so nice of you. And no worries if I'm not good for the role. It's fine.
Yeah.
But everybody auditions at the end of the day. Because unless casting directors have, even when casting directors have a certain person in mind, they still put them through their paces just to make sure, because you don't want to like book someone on the day and you get there and it's like a waste of everyone's time because it's all wrong.
Right.
Because then it's that person's ass. The actor's not in trouble. The person who agreed to this is in trouble.
I'm wondering what is your programming background? Like, what languages did you learn?
That is one of the reasons why I got out of game dev. I would have been better off if I had done audio in the capacity where post-production and Foley and all this stuff, especially people who work in post-production for film and TV, for example, they only have to do a mix once and set it and forget it. They don't have to worry about any number of variables that can and will occur in games that can just like mess up everything and make it sound like garbage. So I thrived very well when I was in a position for sound design where I made sounds and implemented them, but through front-end tools where I would just with a big dummy using a picture book would connect this sound to this trigger to this thing in the game or this asset or this animation, and it would automatically work. If you are a sound designer and you can get comfortable in scripting, like in Lua, for example, that makes you that much more appealing because you're going to save a company money. Generally, audio programmers are worth their weight in gold. They're extremely rare. It's almost never that a company is willing to sacrifice a programmer to only dedicate them to audio until it's too late, because I never value the value of audio. Like, audio is the most underappreciated and the most needed asset of the damn game. But it's usually like an afterthought. So you can tell when someone's audio is not very good because they didn't think about it to the last minute. And audio programmers will help plug in and make the tools to make lazy sound designers like me do stuff through all the visual end of a tool, so it all works smoothly. The limit of my job in programming would be like just being able to articulate using my words. I would like this to function in this way, in this manner, at this time. Can you help me? Yeah. And go through meetings like that. The programmer goes away. The programmer comes back. Hey, I made up the script. I made this tool. Try it. See, is that cool? Cool. And going back and forth like that. If you can script, you cut that middleman out. And if you do have an audio programmer, they can go do other things that are more pressing. So I don't find scripting just doesn't do anything for me. I can't think of a worse version of hell than just staring at lines in Notepad and like making sure that all of my parentheses and crap and my brackets are just, no. So it's funny because now like I can articulate coming over to VO. I do the part of the job that I like. I show up for the party. I make sound assets with my mouth. And I leave. I'm not responsible for editing. Yeah. I'm not responsible for any cleanup or speed issues. Like if something's not going to sync up, I'm not responsible for implementing. I just show up for the party and I leave, and cleanup is someone else's problem. And I do that however many times a week or a day. But like I said, I get fired every time.
Sure.
That's the consequence, but I'm not responsible for the aftermath. So that's kind of fun.
Nice. Just asking on behalf of someone trying to teach themselves programming. Which might be
yes, that's someone being deep voice over here trying to get free career advice.
I mean, stuff like C# is never going to go out of style. Mm-hmm. That's a basic. But Lua is pretty prevalent because it's scripting for babies. Mm-hmm. Right. It's not as deep, and it's still like a front end. Unity is really great practice for scripting because so much is there's so much documentation. There's endless tutorials that you can see or watch or buy or whatever for Unity, for example, where you still have to punch and script yourself, but it is for babies.
Gotcha.
It's scripting light, which is good.
All
right. Yeah, I had a question about how you got cast for Sara Ryder in Mass Effect Andromeda. First of all,
you all know this story already. This is become like internet campfire ghost story. You can't play me. We're not gonna act like this is news.
Well, first of all, quick question: is it Sara S-A-R-A? Wait, S-A-R-A or S-A-R-A-H? Like, is it with the H or without the H?
You guys know Jimmy Fallon's bit that he does, where it's like, I'm Sarah with no H because H's are L.
Yeah.
Freaking bio fan pointed, like, he made that connection around. I was so mad because I love that skit. I love that stupid skit. I watched it on YouTube and I didn't think of it. So hats off to bio fan for making that connection. No, it's without an A, and then the day of, or without an H, and on the day of announcements, like every press internet journalist put an H because
I know
felt right to them.
Right.
And gamers were coming back to me being like, but Polygon said. I'm like, okay, well, you believe who you want. The person who's worked on the game, whatever. I've just had to stare at the name for a year, but it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I saw on Twitter you commented about that. But then I just saw so much conflicting information. I was like, is it possible? Like, how is it possible that everyone? I mean, it's minor, but I was like, how did everyone get that wrong? I'm like, legitimate news sites out there, gaming news sites are all getting it wrong. I was like, I guess it's I just wanted to clarify.
You know what legitimate news sites do? They just copy paste from each other. Word. So one person does it, and every single website posts the same thing.
Word. So true. But anyway, yes, we do know the story, but we want to hear from your side because, I mean, that's fun. So we already know Tom Taylor said So he kind of said you're the one who kind of initiated the whole.
He loves bragging that I broke NDA. He loves it. He loves it so much. It makes him so drunk with power.
He threw you under the bus.
She's the one. She said it first. Whatever. Like It's not breaking NDA when you're both on the same goddamn game, and that's not hard to figure. It's really not hard to figure out in LA because companies, when they have multiple voices in a game, they get the budget at the same time, so they try to schedule it around the same time. So they book out multiple days at the same studio for a period of time. So it is really easy to figure out if you and someone you know is on something together because you'll cross each other in the parking lot or something, and it's like, hey, you two, cool. So it wasn't rocket surgery to figure out, because like Tom said, we were trying to figure out having lunch, and he's like, I'm at the studio at this time, and I was like, I am also at that studio at this time. So it's like, don't play dumb with me, Tom. Don't do it. I will find you out.
So in other words, you're saying that it was you that initiated it first. So you're admitting that he's not lying about that. That's correct.
I will drag you all down to hell with me. But because I'm not dumb, so I'm like, let's not play dumb. So it's just like, like he said, let's play a game. It's called Are We on the Same Game? Is your game in space? Maybe. Is it from Canada? Maybe. At that point, I was like, Tom, let me make this easy for you. I'll rip off the Band-Aid now. All right, buddy? All right, I'm so sorry. I mean, hashtag humble brag, but I'm the female player. So you're gonna have to cope with that. And that's when he just threw it in my face. He's like, "No, I'm the player. Shut up."
How long have you known him? How long have you guys been friends?
Octodad. So we did Octodad. Octodad came out. We're all on the internet. So we were just like, oh, I'll follow you on Twitter. I'll follow you on Twitter. You're friends. And then not long after that, he started talking about wanting to move out to LA. So Tom's ridiculous. He undercuts and undertalks himself a lot. Just know, from me to you, it's all bullshit. He's full of it. He's been making his living as an actor, to my knowledge, his whole adult life. Like, he's one of the people who is like, this is what I'm doing the thing, and you just keep doing the thing until people are paying you for it. So he was in Equity Theater, and in Chicago is a very heavy theater, comedy, improv, some TV production, a lot of commercial stuff. Pretty much damn near all the games in animation come out of LA. Also, obviously, film comes out of LA. Anything of like animated stuff, that like animated film studios, LA. So people have asked if like you can be a voice actor anywhere in the world. The trick is, the only place in the world where you can do VO full time and make a comfortable living is be in Los Angeles. If you do VO anywhere else in the world, of course you can, especially with the internet, and if you have a good home setup where you like get paid to go to studio, sure, fine, whatever. But it'll be like a part-time supplementary once in a while job. All those actors everywhere else in the world supplement with doing on-camera commercial, anything else they can do, theater, whatever. And then you can make ends meet. I have the luxury of, I live in LA, so the only thing I do is VO. That's it. I don't have to do anything else. I don't have time for anything else, but I could not do this anywhere else in the world. And everybody in the business knows that. So Tom, despite his adult life, to my knowledge, has been always very active in like theater and all this stuff.
Yeah.
After Octodad, and he was also, like he's mentioned, he was teaching kids at a university how to deal with voice actors and directing and like up and comer hopeful devs. I think he just got bit by the bug, and he's just like, I want to do VO full time. And when you're older like him, and he's got a wife and 2 kids, it's not that easy.
Right.
And like family and a house and just all that stuff that anchors people and like prevents people from doing the thing. He's really fortunate in that his wife could get a job out here and start working immediately in her profession. She works, I don't know, children's speech pathology, something, children, something education, something medical, something that California needs desperately enough where she could just get here and hit the ground running. Yeah. If it wasn't for that, I don't think Tom would be here, never mind be in Mass Effect.
Yeah, he did mention that. He did mention that when we spoke with him.
Yeah, I mean, that's just all luck. Like when you're young and you don't have responsibilities and anyone or anything tying you down, it's much easier to make those maneuvers versus when you're old and your decisions affect other people. Sure. So, I mean, very very fortunate that Tom's family is understanding and willing enough to just like go on this adventure of like, let's try California. And then the first thing he books is Andromeda. So I think he's going to be fine. I think he'll be fine. Yeah.
I just love the relationship you guys have, because I mean, even in that sibling rivalry vid you did with BioWare, I mean, everybody, if you're following Mass Effect Andromeda, you know that video. If you're not, look it up. It's hilarious, and like the relationship that you guys have in that video, like talking to you, talking to him separately, like I can tell that's like 100% like legit. Like that's how you guys actually are.
Yeah, like BioWare obviously like set up the parameters of the script, which by the way, Connell apparently has a spitting fetish, which he didn't really put together until like, so gamers do a lot of the legwork. Like gamers are always tagging in other people from like gamers have forced poor Freddie Prinze Jr. And like, I feel bad for Jennifer Hale. Because on a very regular basis, some well-meaning gamer will do a tweet where they're like, like Commander Shepard will always be my Shepard, and Jennifer Hale at Jennifer Hale will always be. But I'm really looking forward to Fryda Wolff, and I'm like, leave this woman alone. Leave her alone. Like she can't do anything with this. Just so annoying. I'm embarrassed. So stuff like that. But you know, players are good at just like, or like Freddie Prinze Jr. was forced into thread with me. I'm like, oh my god. So Alex Wheaton, Alex Wilton, who was the female playable for Dragon Age, got tagged in, and like rolling it back, of course, BioWare fans were like, Alex, didn't you do a spitting video? And sure enough, BioWare Connell from BioWare sketched out this video they did for her where they had her do spit takes with water, and all she did was spit on him in front of camera over and over and over. Connell wrote this. This is Connell's idea. So, like, Connell wrote in my spit take. And then gamers following the breadcrumbs were like, do you have a thing for women spitting? And Connell, who just happened to be online at the time, was just like, I'm writing a sketch video right now, and I just wrote a spitting scene. I think I have a problem. That's all him. But like a lot of it was like they didn't tell me to do like older, wiser sibling. That's just like a bone that I won't let go because it's so stupid. For example, and stuff like that. Although, so I have a Google alert for myself, which since Andromeda is weird because it forces like the Google alert will take me to like message boards and comment threads and crap, and it's like, oh, I don't need to see this. Ugh.
Oh boy.
And it took me to a message thread over the video, and I skimmed it, and my favorite was like I saw someone say, yeah, I didn't really like this video, it just seems really scripted. And someone replied with like, really, what was your first clue? Was it the cameras or the lighting? Was it the edits or the cuts or the different, like what why would you think that's, yes, it's scripted. I don't know, we did the best we could, but obviously we had fun that day. It's not I mean, like we've said in other interviews, part of the job of acting, like I mentioned earlier, is having real, honest emotion in front of strangers.
Chemistry.
Within a time and a budget on command for money, and then go home and then do it again. It's just easier if you already have a rapport or some kind of relationship that helps define your fake relationship in context, which is why, like, so I'm like a big... people have been interviewing me a lot lately, right? And when people ask you the same questions, like, what are your hobbies? That's when you have to think, shit, what are my hobbies? Do I have hobbies? I don't know. I've never thought about that. And I just, like, I didn't really, because I don't, think of myself like a dating profile of like my turn on, my turn offs, my favorite foods, and my hobbies. But it's made me realize like, oh shit, my hobby is like, I'm one of those people where like the second a movie's done, I gotta go to the IMDb page and like look up every single casting choice and read all the trivia and then read like 5 articles about like, I didn't realize how obsessed I was about it until I was like, what are my hobbies? I spend like way too much time doing crap like that because I have to be right.
Yeah.
God, what was the point of all this? I'm just so excited talking about movies. Wait, wind me back, because I'm also thinking about how much I have to pee, but I'm having a lot of fun talking. So, as usual, the actor is doing the dance, and it's just coming out now. This is happening. It's just happening. Oh, okay. So my point was, if you go back and you read a lot of movie or TV trivia or whatever regarding production, very, very common. It's like, it's mentioned because it's weird, but it's not that weird. It makes a lot of sense. If you have characters that are supposed to be related or close or friends in some way, the director or production staff will pair them off together and make them hang out, like make them bunk together, spend days together, do sleepovers, hang out, whatever, just like build a real relationship.
Sure.
So when then we go to film, you have a real relationship, and it's just like it takes off some of the legwork of trying to feel like you have a real relationship. Versus on any film where characters have an antagonistic relationship, like for example, so like over Christmas, I have my brand new husband is a brand new American. He's from Scotland, and he's
By the
a bit
way,
younger
congratulations on the wedding.
Thank you. So he's younger than me, and he's from another country. So I've had like on Twitter, it's just fun for me. It's embarrassing for him, but like, I make it up to him later. Where like there's a lot of movies he hasn't seen that are like cultural touchstones for my generation, for example.
Yeah.
And I'll tweet about it because it's just like watching this alien kind of trying to make sense of something that's just been part of our mental landscape forever.
Sure.
Things that influence us. So he vaguely remembered Home Alone. So we watched Home Alone over Christmas.
Great
and then
movie.
of course, like a dork afterwards, I have to look up all the stuff, right? So of course, they isolated Macaulay Culkin, for example, from Joe Pesci and Chris Haynes. I can't remember his name. The other guy. They isolated Macaulay from the bad guys so that they wouldn't have a relationship, so it would be awkward and strange and scary when this tiny child has to be in front of these scary looking dudes on
Right.
camera naturally, so he doesn't have to fake it. So he wasn't allowed to hang out with them, talk to them, make jokes with them. Like they had to keep distance, so they would always be strange bad men.
Huh.
And that doesn't just apply for like a child actor. Just like if you start combing through various film productions, lots of times just people will, or like Angelina Jolie on Girl Interrupted, like now that I'm thinking about this, she also, see, like this is my hobby, I have a problem. Like she isolated herself, like she refused to make friends or hang out with any of the girls because she's got to be the weird one.
Right.
And they got to treat her like this strange creature, so she made herself a strange creature. So look, acting is always going to be about really feeling something on command so it can really translate onto film or however it's recorded. But it's just helpful if you don't have to work that hard, if it's just there. So like with Tom and me, yeah, our pre-existing relationship makes it easier so we don't have to pretend so hard. Because I always think about, I don't do on-camera work, but man, if I had to like show up, and a lot of people, like if they have a sex scene, sometimes that's the day they meet. Nice to meet you. I'm Dave. I'm Lisa. All right, let's spend the next 8 hours choreographing this sex scene, and tomorrow I'm going to have a very intimate, naked-y scene with you with like also 20 people staring at us and adjusting the lighting.
Right.
And like all this technical crap is going on, but they have to make it look real and intimate so that it sells seats.
Sure.
So...
You mentioned something about the comment section of that sibling rivalry vid I brought up a couple minutes ago.
I mentioned something about peeing. So let's do that.
Yes, you can do that.
Absolutely.
And edit, and let's come back in a second.
All right.
Before I make a VO. Anyway, be right back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Boys, you got the time?
Yeah, it's 1:53.
It's 1:36 for me, just so you know.
Well, I was recording as soon as we all got into the call together, so.
Yeah. I don't know, because she's going to do her separate file. So I don't know if you want to use our separate files. Because I didn't start recording as soon as we got in. I started recording when we did the sync.
Well, whatever works. I'll see. You said it was 1:38?
1:36.
36. Okay.
About 1:36, roughly. Man. Good bathroom breaks.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
I mean, I know I'm definitely going to have to go at some point, too. I've been guzzling water. She was talking about the vocal cord parasites, and I had to drink some water, man.
Yeah, I mean,
I've been guzzling. I had to slow down.
By the time she started talking about the water, I was almost done with my water. I was like, damn.
Bro, I brought an extra bottle before we started because you see me during the podcast, man. Yeah. I kill water, man. I don't know how to stop it. I can't. I'm always thirsty.
I mean, I learned that stuff like the hard way. Like when I streamed, after like 4 or 5 days of streaming, it's like my throat is done.
Everything you told me about your streaming, I've tried to not replicate. For example, I try to drink water. I try to, like I told you, I stand while I stream because I have to stay limber. Like I can't. I start sitting down, my back starts to hurt, and that's not comfortable. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Go ahead and just stretch out a bit.
Yeah, I'm stretching out right now too. About to play Kanye's workout plan. Work it out. You know you can work it out. My butt, my back, everything.
I need to work on my ankle flexibility. I'll do that ankle test. You have to have like your foot maybe like an inch or so away from the wall and touch the wall with your knee. You ever try that?
I did. I used to do that when like my Achilles tendonitis was acting up. They would make us do exercises like that. But I'm still sore from the day I was running the cable. Mm-hmm. Lord, I was like that. Those people that install that be on their knees and bending over to get to drill all these holes in walls and stuff like that. I was like, I have newfound respect for them. My body, that drill like shook every muscle in my body, bro. Every muscle in my body. I was like, after I was using the drill, I'm like, how does every muscle hurt?
Hello? All right, I'm empty. Ready to fill her up again.
All right. So you mentioned something about the comment section in the sibling rivalry vid that you did with Tom Taylorson. And, I wanted to bring up something that I noticed in the comment section while I was perusing. Like, you had people, and this is the internet, to a T. I'm of African American descent, if you want to call it that. I'm of Jamaican heritage. Deep voices, Hispanic from the Dominican Republic. You deal with people saying things that, are basically, shots at your appearance and your background. And I saw some comments, people saying things like, "What's up with Fryda's hair?" And saying other things like, man, Fryda Wolff is thicker than a Snicker. And
I got thicker than the Sunday paper. That's my favorite. She's thicker than the Sunday paper. And that's when I went and replied that I've renamed my boobs the arts and leisure section. But that made me mad because I couldn't decide if I should say I've renamed my rack arts and leisure or if I've renamed my boobs arts and leisure individually because they're both good. So that's always going to torment me.
I wanted to ask you, how do you deal with getting those responses? I mean, you're a woman in the industry. It's not always easy. I mean, you sometimes get bigoted responses. I know Deep Voice, you might have something to say in that regard too, because essentially it's tough, and we just want to hear some words from you about that. About representation and things like that. It's
part of the female experience. If you're a woman in any sense, if you're any kind of woman, and this means like you look like whatever supposedly now a prototypical woman is, or you're kind of an off-brand woman, whatever. If you are not definitely a man, or you don't definitely have a penis, what happens? And then like from the time we're tiny little girls, we understand this quickly. So if I'm introduced to a man or a boy in any capacity doing whatever, I'm not going to dismiss his ability, his life's choice, whatever, based on his appearance.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're a girl or a woman, that is the first thing that comes up.
Right.
So it would be like, in my head, the best analogy is like if you go to the bank and you go to a teller, and because the teller's a woman, you're like, I'm not going to take you seriously because I can tell you probably don't have a penis. So can I talk to your manager or just somebody who does have one? And then the first penis that comes along, you don't judge them and break them down by like, well, you're kind of overweight, so you probably don't take very good care of yourself, and your face, man, that's a lot of blackheads. So because of all the blackheads on your face, you're probably not good at your job. Whereas if you're a woman, all that, like, it's not, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Yeah. And then you're also probably never not good enough or qualified because you're a woman. The end. Any kind of woman, any brand of woman. And what I mean by that is like being hyper feminine and like you can be, if you get in shape, you're vain. If you're out of shape, you're fat. If you do your makeup, you're a vain whore. If you do no makeup, you're a lazy prude. Like, you can't win.
Yeah.
You can't win. We always lose. So we know that. So you develop this tough skin where it's just like, I'm like Amy Schumer on the Inside Amy Schumer did this amazing redo of 12 Angry Men, where she basically has a jury of 12 peers. And a lot of them are like her friends, like Steve Buscemi other people in there, and they're all judging. It's in black and white, and there are 12 jurors who are trying to decide whether Amy Schumer deserves to have a show because she's not hot. And so they like go around the table being like, well, I'd bang her. You'd bang her? Yeah, man. I mean, like, I'm not saying she should have a show, but I mean, if I'm lonely, I'd bang her. And that's how just women and girls are subject to being graded. Yeah. So as a woman going into any situation, I know that if a heterosexual man doesn't immediately want to put it in me, they're going to dismiss my abilities for anything. Right. And that's the way it is. Versus if you're a man and so like job interview, press interview, whatever, if you show up and you're a man, you're not going to be dismissed on what you can do as hard as you would be if you're a woman. So like I expected that. So just the knee-jerk reaction, especially dudes without a face who are saying stuff behind a keyboard that they would never say to your face because the root of it all, like as from an armchair psychologist perspective, men, especially straight men and boys, are terrified of women because they're terrified of rejection. Mm-hmm. Right. It's the scariest thing in the world to like be vulnerable, put yourself out there, open to rejection, and getting your feelings hurt. Yeah. And a lot of guys turn that into just full-on hatred and misogyny, trolling, victimizing women online to make themselves feel better, more superior. But that thing snowballs into, I mean, if the only way you treat, because you're so desperate and you're so sad and you're so lonely that the only way you view women is as objects, so you indulge in a lot of porn, which, by the way, this is not a morality issue. On a scientific level, the usage of porn tells your brain that you have an infinite amount of choices, that you have an unlimited amount of potential real life partners. It remaps all of the nerves in your brain. It physically reconfigures your brain so that when you stop looking at porn and try to relate to or have a real relationship with a real person, it falls apart and you can't do it. Right. Just on a basic level, for example, think about how much of your daily communication is premeditated, be it in text or email, and how there's this rising occurrence of, for example, like millennials are terrified of phone calls. What the fuck? And if you break that down, what happens all the time. Well, because you text all the time, the muscle in your brain that is used for live conversation, like what we're doing now, like me having something and you having a response, that muscle is atrophying in people who are mostly only doing premeditated, thought out, deleted, overwrought communication, right? Versus having to do it in person. And then when they have to do it in person or on the phone, they're freaking out. Yeah. And they don't know why. And then they call it anxiety. Well, it's anxiety because you have no practice at it. Mm-hmm. Sure. I mean, and this isn't my opinion. I'm just like repeating the many there's definitely
scientific studies that have
there's endless books, TED Talks, articles.
Absolutely.
So you have to be very careful about how you're not engaging with real people in real time because you're so plugged into the internet. So you're having premeditated conversations, you're not having face-to-face interactions, and you're able to judge people at a distance. So it's like cultivating more and more, for example, volatile, angry, lonely young men to be even more violent and more nasty and more resentful towards women that they can't understand, they can't relate to, and they can't engage in a healthy, normal way. Yeah. So as a result, like I have to go in expecting, of course, these guys are like, you don't look like the porn stars I want to have sex with. You don't look like the girls who reject me. You don't look like I have a chance with you sexually. So I'm going to put you down so I can feel better about it. I'm going to reject you before you reject me.
Yeah, I mean, we wanted to talk about it. I mean, I'm sorry, but we wanted to talk about it because I guess we kind of wanted to bridge the gap in terms of understanding, because obviously, coming from our perspective, we're not women, so we don't exactly know what it's like. We have to go online to really see it. Like you said, you live it every day, all the time. Yeah, and there's really. I mean, we don't partake in that, but we also don't see or fully understand the effects of it. I mean, I know for sure from our point of view, I definitely agree that there are an alarmingly large number of young men that I guess aren't being raised right. Maybe the best way to put it. don't know how to interact, don't know, they have self-esteem issues,
Sure.
rude. But I guess, like you said,
You're kept, if you spend all your time plugged in, you're in a really safe bubble. Like, look, the feelings that you have, there's this constant debate, especially people get really defensive online, and I totally agree, because I'm also a child of, AOL and all that stuff came on when I was in high school. So I get it, and I'm part of this generation.
Sure.
But when you spend most, if not all, your time behind the safety of the computer in this private bubble where no one can hurt you, as a result, we're all more sensitive, and we're also all more hurtful because there are no consequences. Versus, like, when you say stuff to people in real life, you immediately see the consequences of what came out of your mouth. Whether you see it on their face and their reaction, their emotional reaction. Sure. Now you have to deal with that, good or bad. Like, you have to deal with it.
Absolutely.
We don't have to deal with it. We can leave a message, a comment, a message thread, a tweet, whatever, and walk away from it and just, like, watch it all burn down behind us.
Yeah.
So there's no empathy there. You don't have to care about how what you said affected anybody.
Yeah.
You don't have to care.
I mean, for me and D Boyce, it's of particular importance because, quite frankly, we sometimes struggle with that where, we instantly, want to look at a woman and, say X, Y, and Z about her physical appearance and, the sexual attraction or lack thereof that we might have from. And, I'm not going to sit here and be like, I'm not going to say high and mighty, like, hey, we're going to be preaching to people about how to talk to women. As a male, as someone who has grown up in, a certain environment, I've definitely made comments that when I look back on it, I'm just like, wow, I definitely shouldn't have said that about, that woman. And I definitely shouldn't have allowed it to
happen around you,
to happen around me and to foster it and make it seem like it's okay. And I've openly apologized about that because, I'm not perfect, but, part of the Get Coins of Die Tryin experience is educating ourselves. You know what I'm saying? And me and Boyce, we really want to know, like, how to remedy that, how to bridge a gap, how to, make it so that maybe there's a young man listening to this right now or a young woman and they're listening to this and they can be like, all right, well, maybe there's some hope for the damn future if we can all just, do a little bit more of X, Y, and Z so that, there's a little bit of less bigotry and sexism and things of the like.
Well, stuff gets really convoluted. So, I mean, first and foremost, there is nothing wrong with finding someone sexually attractive. That's usually generally a sign of virility and health, right?
Right.
If you feel good about yourself, then and you are around other people who feel good about themselves, you can feel good about yourselves together. Like that's why we're all here, because all of our parents had sexy time. Great.
Indeed.
Right. Like having sexual attraction is great. The thing that people forget and we're even more disconnected from forever, because like I'm saying, our interactions aren't real in real time, is that we forgot that everyone's just a person.
Right.
Yeah.
Everyone's just a person. Everyone's got their own personal stuff going on, their tragedies, their experiences, their parents that they're dealing with, their kids. Sure, everyone's just a person. And again, because you don't have that interaction in real time, you don't have to acknowledge that they're people. They're not like everyone on Twitter is just an egg. They're not real people, and the eggs treat people like not real people also. So we're all real people who are really upset but not dealing with real people. It's a mess. It's a total mess. So like you can't get anywhere without empathy at all. And empathy is not sympathy. Sympathy is like, oh, I'm so sorry for you. Like I feel great, but I'm sorry for what you're going through, but I'm doing great.
Right.
Empathy is, I know how you feel. I have felt how you feel. And they're very distinct lanes. So when you dig into empathy, when you have real empathy, you understand what someone is going through because you've gone through something similar in your life. And that has to like trickle down to, like, you can't go as extreme as like, if somebody is a refugee in Sudan because they watched their entire family murdered by warlords, you don't have to say, I don't relate to that. If you've ever experienced grief, loss, or trauma, then you can say, man, okay, I feel you.
Yeah.
So at the very least, like, for example, like we're talking about like these interactions between sexually charged and frustrated men of all ages. Like we wish we could just blame it on 12-year-olds, right? But like we're talking about like 40-year-old married of two father of 2 people,
Yeah.
you know, who are doing this crap also. These are, for me, putting myself in their shoes, and just like from me going to my own therapy and doing just all like the reading and the research and stuff you need to do just to get by. Like, I understand these are frustrated, angry, lonely, hurt men, boys, who are so scared of being rejected and having their feelings hurt that it's just so much easier to put other people down first, so they never have a chance. So, I mean, guys don't, like, I've been told on Twitter, you know what? You can pay me to rape you.
Ooh.
Holy.
That would never happen to
Whoa.
a man. That would never happen to a man.
That's
That's just like a Tuesday for me. That's like a Tuesday for me or any other girl or woman on the internet.
Jesus,
and now you've got
man.
like 12-year-old girls who are getting crap like that on the internet.
My
So
God.
It doesn't
awful.
have to be something as massive as like to the point where we got with thanks to garbage like Gamergate, where girls were being victimized, stalked, having SWAT teams show up at their houses, having their employers, their family employers being called by boys and men at home with nothing better to do to make themselves feel better by terrorizing boys, like girls and women, because it's like, how dare you stand up to us?
Yeah.
How dare you try to put us in their place? Who the fuck are you? So it's just like, now we're at this point where it's just like, now we have, you know, Trump as president. So that's where we're at. Yeah. So it all comes down to empathy. If you conveniently forget that the person on the other end is also a human, you're just going to hurt each other back and forth till, you know, we're all blown up and it's the apocalypse anyway, and it's just ash falling down in hurt feeling form. So, I mean, like, the second I was told what I was working on, I just like, whoosh, I saw that, like, that fast edit montage scene where I saw all the things that were going to happen to me, and I was like,
Sure.
all right, okay, armor up. Armor up, because the first thing you're going to do is like be compared to Jennifer Hale, which is fine. And like, my answer to that is like, I'm not Jennifer Hale. You are right. I am not, and I never will be Jennifer Hale, because it's physically impossible. You can't put me in a pod from The Fly and duplicate us. You are right. I will never be Jennifer Hale. Great. I'm glad that's settled. And then from there, it moves on to stuff like my appearance. Well, I wouldn't have sex with her. I'm like, that is such a relief. I can clear my calendar now, because I was really worried that, like, if you know, user 2287, you know, elite hacker, if you wanted to have sex with me, I was gonna have to get waxed, and manicure, and just like do all this stuff to prepare my body for you. But now, man, this works out for both of us. Awesome. So it goes from there to there. And then from there, we'll get into other parts of, like, quote unquote celebrity, where you start judging, well, I just don't like her based on like something I say or do. And there's nothing I can do about that, because all I can do is be myself.
Sure.
And you don't have to like that. What I have to do to get by, you know, emotionally, is just not be hurt. And first of all, don't read the comments, but everyone does. It's good if you're too busy to read the comments.
Yeah.
I have like probably twice a day I think about quitting Twitter, just because we're at the point where like, it's going good, and this is for good. I've gotten so many jobs and made friends, and like, this is awesome, and we're all agreeing. And then one person shows up and just says something that wrecks you.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I don't need this. This is garbage. I'm losing hours of my life that I'm never going to get back on this fuck social media. And it's like this endless argument that I have with myself, and a lot of other people do.
Yeah,
I finally got off of Facebook early last year.
Welcome to the club.
And for me, what broke me with Facebook is like, you know how, especially so me as an independent business owner of myself, like my brain is very much focused on the hustle, right? Because that's how I eat.
Sure.
With Facebook, I just realized Facebook forces you to become an unpaid community manager. That is a paid job. People are paid to moderate threads and to kick out trolls and to check in on stuff and update content. No one was paying me to be on Facebook.
No.
So why am I being like dragged into random people arguing on my page like I'm running a message board? No. Pay me or get out. And just once I realized, I was like, no, I'm out. Their community manager is a real life job with benefits. People send their kids to school on that job. No. So that was easy for me. Twitter's a little bit harder to give up. One, because there's nothing else yet.
Yeah.
And two, it's sort of like, it's certainly become like my professional contacts, you know, Rolodex, which is a term that means nothing to anyone. My professional directory.
Yeah.
Because once becoming a voice actor, as a developer, I was on LinkedIn. But then once you're a voice actor, all your jobs come through auditions anyway, so LinkedIn was pointless, so I got off of that. And then on Twitter, like, do you guys know how I got on Octodad?
No.
No, I don't.
So that was a Twitter special where all I did was I made some post, a sincere post. Older people or less. I got frustrated because like, so I'm 34 and I grew up with the internet in high school and stuff. So I have a clue of internet etiquette, and I just think of like people maybe who are older, or even not people my age, people who are older who like give money to take social media classes and pay money for seminars like how to use social media to improve your business, and then they go on Twitter and all they do is every day post, like they post ads, but they don't interact, they don't build relationships. And the one thing that I will say for like this generation that was raised on the internet, I think we're much better at valuing how important it is to make real, emotional, sincere relationships, because that makes you want to work with those people and be loyal to them beyond what they can do for you financially.
Yeah.
Because you want to like your coworkers.
Sure.
So on Twitter, so like one day I wasn't looking or vying for anything. I just posted it. I'm so excited about the next generation of indie developers, because these are the first generation of quote indie developers were all ex-AAA vets with hurt feelings and scar tissue and PTSD. So they were out to me. I mean, if you ever watch was it called Indie Game the movie? That was more like, Needs Therapy the movie, because everyone was still so angry and so bitter about their experience in the trenches working for AAA, of like just being abused through crunch and not being respected. And if you're a cog in the machine, either you're not wanted for your ideas, just your expertise. And they weren't over it. So they were making indie games out of revenge and not out of pleasure. And also because they'd been told what not to do. So it was essentially like the punk rock of games, of like, fuck the establishment.
Sure.
Then the next iteration of indie developers were kids coming out of school, or just kids, again, like getting access to tools and stuff, who have no AAA experience. They've never been told what they can't do. It's like also like indie film developers who came in at the age of digital and didn't need to have the income to afford film and camera and all that shit. They just grab a digital camera, right? Which is much cheaper. And so there's no gatekeeper to tell them what they can't do.
Sure.
So as a result, they make something different and interesting. And they get all this traction and attention. So you have this younger set of kids coming out. So all I did was tweet it. I'm so excited for people like Papers, Please and Octodad. I don't remember that Viscera Detail Cleanup, which is Viscera is made by 3 brothers in their 20s who live in South Africa, who've never worked anywhere, who like just work together as like a set of brothers. They're the sweetest kids, and they just came up with that for fun, and it took off and got traction. So I'm just really excited, because this is a generation that hasn't been told what they can and can't do. So I can't wait to see what they do. 5 minutes later, I get an email from Phil Tibetosky, who is the president and one of the founders of Young Horses, who made Octodad. And real quick, Young Horses, it was 12 guys who, for their graduating project game, made the first Octodad, and they took it to some festivals, and it got so much attention.
Wow. Of
the 12 guys who graduated together from DePaul University in Chicago, 9 of them incorporated, lived together in an apartment, worked on this game nights and weekends, meanwhile working full-time jobs.
Wow.
For 2 years. And they did like a Kickstarter that made them like $20,000, which is nothing. That feels like for 2 licenses.
Yeah, also, that's nothing for development. Well,
one of the many things that works against you when you're inexperienced is you also don't know anything about budgeting.
Yeah.
And you don't know till you know. So they sweated it out in their little apartment where a bunch of, not all of them, but most of them lived together, worked nights and weekends on this game, and then were full-time job, holding it down, 5 minutes later, I get an email from Phil, and he's like, "Hey, I'm not creepy, but I saw you tweet, because they were like good little boys. They were doing regular sweeps, just looking for Octodad, just seeing what people were saying while this was still way in development. And they're like, he's like, I'm not creepy, but I saw you say something nice about Octodad, and I went to your website, which my demo website was, it's linked on my Twitter. So obviously he went on Twitter, looked at who is this. I have a URL. It goes to a ready to go website. And he's like, I saw you're a voice actor. Do you want to audition for the game? Yes. So And and he was 20, like 24, 23 at the time, and just putting on his big boy pants and being like, "Hi, I would like to hire you."
I mean, that's exactly what you were talking about earlier, man. Just going out there and trying to see if you can grab somebody, because what's the worst that can happen?
Don't ask, don't get.
No.
Don't ask,
So he
don't
asked, and they sent me the audition, and they were like, "We would love this," and I'm like, "This is amazing," but also just it just had it in my head. I'm like, this is kind of how we do business now too. Like by being, you don't I see like voice actors on Twitter who like they make their handle voice actor guy for you, and then all they post, you go through their tweets, and all their tweets are like, do you need a voice of your brand? I've worked with these clients, very reasonable rates. Go to my website, and they don't interact. They're not people.
No.
They don't even pretend to be people. They're just a product.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to be friends with a product. That's weird. You want to be friends with people who also happen to be fun to work with and can do a thing for you well. That's why, like, you see a lot of game production crews like to stick together because you want to work with your friends. So, like, whether it's like film directors who work with the same actors and the same production crew over and over again, game developers who stick together, like, there's something you will do things out of loyalty for your friends that you wouldn't do for anyone else. And also, like, if you've read Tina Fey's book Bossy Pants, this always sticks out in my mind too. When she was the head writer of SNL, she would talk about, like, she only wants to work with people whose faces she'd be willing to see at 4 a.m. when everything is blowing up. And if someone isn't in that circle, get them out.
Yeah,
because they're going to be a problem.
Right.
So Octodad Young Horses hit me up. I recorded from home. They directed me over Skype. It was like one of the best experiences I've ever had. And I got to be Stacy. So I'm Tom's daughter. Tom is Octodad and all the men. I'm Stacy, his daughter, and all the women. And then, like I'm sure he's told you, Anne Sonneville is Scarlett, the wife and mother, and also the little boy.
Right.
And the Young Horses kids they were so grown up about it, because they're little boys fresh out of school who've done some, and I'm not saying this to be condescending or demeaning, like, you just have to think about how in the big vast expanse of the world, these are guys who've never shipped a product, never made a game without teacher supervision, and they just get their shit together, and they're like, let's incorporate, let's do this for real, let's try to actually make a business out of this. And to this day, they all, share space in an office, they work together, and they're working on their second game.
Wow.
So, I mean,
shout outs to them, man. Congrats to them. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
They made it happen.
That's awesome. They made it
and
happen.
they put on their big boy pants for it, because these are little 20-year-old kids who, through DePaul University, they have a program where they, at a cut cheap rate, they'll bring in union actors to do VO for student projects. But the exchange is like, so the actors get time paid, and then these kids get experience working with an actor, wrangling them, directing them, all that stuff. So that's how they met Tom, and had Tom do the student project. And Tom is a union actor, so again, they got their pants together. They did all the paperwork. They became a union signatory. And Anne's union, Tom's union, because I'm FICOR, can also do union. So they paid us union minimum wage, like adults. They didn't ask for like a cut indie rate or anything. They paid us minimum wage. They got the quality they wanted. They became SAG signatories, which means once you do the paperwork for that, then you could hire union actors, and then that all goes through the union, and the union records it, blah 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 blah. They did that because they liked Tom so much, because they wanted to make sure that they could bring on Tom.
Right.
They did that for Tom, which is, I mean, that's saying a lot from like a group of 23, 24-year-old guys.
Absolutely.
To file paperwork, because, you and I know 60-year-olds who can't be arsed to fill out paperwork for less complicated things. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
So that's how I got on Octodad. I think the point of that whole thread is like, we're in this place where we're becoming desensitized as humans to other humans, and our personal relations are going to shit. But at the same time, it's this never before limitless amount of opportunities to find your people, to find your tribe and work with your people, and work with people whom without the randomosity of the internet, you would just never make that connection with, and you'd never get to make stuff.
Sure.
So, I mean, and that's like most products now, like so much is telecommunicated. Like I've worked with so many clients who just Skype in and never meet them. I meet so many people at like events, like I did Civ 5 Beyond Earth.
Yeah.
For Firaxis, and Firaxis always phoned in through Skype, and I didn't get to meet them till like PAX the next year. And they're like they're the nicest guys. You can ask for nicer people to work for. Like, I'm really lucky. Like BioWare, Firaxis, like people who've been working with voice actors for a long time in big games and know how to treat them right, and they're also just like the best people to work for. They have the workflow down to science. Like, I'm so freaking lucky. But yeah, like I don't meet them till we happen to be at the same place at the same time, and this would never happen without the internet.
Sure.
So it's good and it's bad. I mean, I don't know. All I can say is like tread with caution. Because what else can you do? Like, if you go off the grid, you miss out.
Yeah.
And if you're wide open and on all the time, you're kind of lost in a fantasy land, and you're also vulnerable.
I got you. So, I mean, in terms of what you were speaking about in terms of representation and making sure that you interact on a level where you understand that other people are people on the other end of the internet web that you're reaching across. So, I mean, are there any people in the industry that you feel like contribute to and grow that idea, the idea that, we need to be competent, that we need to, be well aware of who we're interacting with and how we interact with people, and, champion that in the gaming industry, people that, I guess, hold it down for representation and respect. Like, who are people to you that stand out? Is there anyone that stands out in that respect?
You mean like people who are just championing like representation and diversity, for example?
Yep.
Well, like BioWare, I don't think I can't. I mean, I'm not an academic. Like, I don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of game casting makeups, but
sure.
just off the cuff, I think BioWare have been the front runners this whole time about why not have XYZ. So I've noticed since I've been announced, and I can't keep up. I can't keep up with like the followers. My community's manageable. I'm like not in the tens of thousands of followers or whatever, but I see like these little surges of like followers being picked up and stuff, and it's really, really heartwarming. A tremendous number of Black men, women, boys, and girls, which I did not have prior to this,
including me.
Well, but this is because of BioWare. It's not because of me. It's because of BioWare. Because BioWare made it so that you're not stuck with a prototypical blue eye, brown head shaved, perfect stubble, male perfume model, and that's your only option.
Yeah.
BioWare from the get-go was like, well, why can't you be anybody you want to be?
Sure.
Why? That doesn't... I mean, like, the most exciting thing for me is the fact that, so you have your out the box BioWare set of like, okay, you can be obviously like any race, gender, non-gender you want to but the fact that you can customize like the sibling and the dad. So if you want to be a mixed family, why shouldn't you be a mixed family?
Right.
Why not? Like, it's no different than, like, you guys remember not that long ago Cheerios did this campaign with the little girl. So it's like,
oh yes,
that's a Black dad on a couch, and he's got this gorgeous little light baby girl who's blah 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 giggling being a kid, and then the mom in the kitchen is white, and the internet just blew up because they're like, you can't do that.
I remember watching that commercial and be like, yo, this is awesome. Like, I saw that immediately and I was like, this is dope, man. I was like, this is cool. You know what I mean?
Well, you can't do that. Why? You can't. You can't is not a reason.
Freaking crazy, man.
You can't is not a reason. It's never a reason.
I mean,
I always point to
everything's an agenda or some sort of conspiracy.
No, you can't. Why are you pushing your mixed race agenda down our throats? And it's like, if I was pushing my mixed race, if Cheerios was pushing their mixed race agenda down your throats, they would be telling you to be mixed race. Does that make sense to you? In the same way where people are like, well, the gay agenda. Is the gay agenda telling you to be gay?
Right.
Are you getting leaflets that say why you should be gay or you'll burn in hell because the opposite sure is happening? There is no agenda. It's just, it's one person's refusal to acknowledge that other types of people exist.
Absolutely.
Or that other types of family units exist.
Absolutely.
Or that you can have a white mom and a Black dad or two dads or whatever. That they're all just people. It's that refusal of like, well, but you can't.
Man, we need to start a 1,000,000 Man march right now, Fryda. Right now. Let's get the crew. We out.
Well, it's all stuff that, like, I don't know. I live my life by as much logic as I can. And just like when you break down the science and the numbers of formula, why other people who don't live with you should be able to live their own consensual, healthy, not hurting other people's lives, the math just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Of that, how that affects you in your own home. It's bizarre. So BioWare obviously has done all the heavy lifting and all the work. So when I see, I mean, like, you guys might have seen, I got an email through my website from a trans kid.
I saw
over
that.
the holidays, and I sat on that for like a week because I'm like, I can't mess this up.
No.
I can't. I know I have no liability. I'm not a licensed professional in any kind of counseling whatsoever. I'm just another person. And
I was gonna get to that. I was gonna get to that post. That's what made me ask this question, because I was getting to that. But I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
So this kid, I don't think they said. I mean, they said that they're in high school, and then they're a ways from graduating. So I think like 15, 16.
Sure.
And the gist of their email was like, I love acting and theater, and I participate in my high school, and I do all the things, but should I just give up? Like, should I just quit before I even try? Like, before I start? Because I don't know of any trans voice actors. There's not a lot of trans actors. Like, and then they went from there to, who do I blame it on? Do I blame it on the man, meaning just like, people in the writer's room, or IP holders? Like, should I just like give up? And to me, especially someone who does anything in any creative field, any kind of creative field, like for me or pretty much anyone else you talk to, as actors, for example, visual artists, but comedians, it doesn't matter. Asking someone, when are you going to retire, is a slap in the face. Most of us would rather die or kill ourselves, like Robin Williams, if we can't do the thing that we think validates us as people. Because when you're an artist, making art is the thing that makes you feel human, makes you feel like you belong, makes you feel like your life has a purpose. If you take that away, it gets really hard to justify being here. Right. And a lot of people feel that way. And that's a pretty dark place.
Absolutely.
When you're like, I can't do the thing that brings me joy. What's the point?
Right.
What's the point? There's no point. So, and I feel the same way. Like, they better drag my cold, dead, gnarled body from the vocal booth before I quit. Because it's the thing that I know that I'm good at, where I'm contributing to other people's projects. Like, it validates me. And that's also at the same time, like, I know that's a really unhealthy place to be. Like, the main advice you'll get from other actors is, like, if you want to be an actor, for example. But again, like, everything I say, I feel is still blanket statement to anything where you're not working part of a structured corporation where your job is very defined. If your job is to make things with yourself or your art or your body or whatever, you are your own resource, but you also have to have a life outside of it and have hobbies and things and friends and relationships. So it's not your whole world, but it is the thing that powers you and makes you go forward. And again, when that's taken away, it feels like death. So for me to have, like, I remember high school, and like, people forget, but high school is the same for everybody. Even whether, it doesn't matter if you're a varsity cheerleader or if you're a nerd in chess class, everyone doesn't feel comfortable.
Sure.
And feels awkward and doesn't know what they're going to do with their lives, and it's really scary, and everything's really dramatic, and
yeah.
So for me to get like this email from this trans kid being like, should I just give up? Which for me, like, that would be like me asking, should I try to work in video games or do voiceover? Or should I just stop being alive? Like, because I don't know if I can do anything else.
Yeah, and giving up before, I mean, his life has just begun. He's on the cusp of
yeah.
I mean,
you remember when you were 15?
Absolutely.
Everything is life and death anyway.
I'm sitting here thinking about all that stuff right now. Like, what it was like thinking, should I not do this because, I'm X, Y, and Z, and I don't see X, Y, and Z doing that. I mean, even this podcast to a certain extent, like, the field that I started working in, is psychology. And, there's obviously things that I can transfer in that respect. But I started saying to myself, like, can I be the personality that I want to be, when I'm sitting here talking with you guys, and still be that professional at the same time, and try to figure that. And I'm still trying to figure that out. And
you should be figuring that out till the day you die. Absolutely. That's part of the game. Like, in general, if you feel like you've hit the limit, you should move on to something else because the joke's on you. Like, you never stop learning in whatever it is that you're doing. If you feel like you know everything, you should expect to be alone a lot of the time.
No.
Because you're insufferable. Because you know everything.
But it's important to be right, not to be nice.
Well, to be right, like, yeah. So for me, like, obviously, like, I'm the dog who's always up for a fight, obviously. And if I'm going to open my mouth and speak on something, I want to make sure that I can cite my references.
Yeah.
Sure.
Just like no difference than like when you're writing a paper. If you're doing something journalistic or academic, you got to cite your references. So
Absolutely.
like in life, like I just like being able it makes me feel better. I feel like I'm armored up if I've got facts, because that's, if I don't have facts, like the rug's pulled out from under me.
Absolutely.
So this is kind of uncharted water for me, because I'm again, it's like you got to use whatever tools you have from empathy. Like, I'm not trans, but I remember what it's like to be in high school and to be a kid and to be
Absolutely.
uncertain about my future and how delicate it is. Someone can tell you you're bad at that, and you'll never try it again because you were so embarrassed and hurt and shut down, versus one person who says, hey, that was pretty good. And you're like, yeah, okay. And you try it again and you try it again. And like years go by and suddenly you're really good at this thing that one person, one teacher, one friend, one parent told you were okay at. That's all it took. It can make or break an entire life, like a butterfly effect. It really can. And like high school teachers know that. So I remember
the good ones
that.
do.
Yeah, the good ones do. The good ones know that they're destroying lives or making them. Some of them are just bitter people who ended up teaching. It's a coin toss.
I'm firing off names in my head right now from my high school.
Of course you do. Of course you do, because it's a universal experience. So like I remember that. So okay, I'm not an expert about being trans, but I remember that. So I mean, you can read my responses and I asked permission to, like, I sat on it for a week. I thought about it a lot because I'm like, I don't want to screw this up. And also, like, I can't get it right, quote right, because there's no right answer to giving someone else advice when it's not your life. But I was like, I don't want to get this wrong.
Sure.
And then I asked their permission to post it. In general, like when people ask me whatever inane question about how to VO, I asked to post it because I don't want to repeat myself. But I was like, this is kind of important to me personally, and are you okay? And they were like, yeah. They were so sweet and nice. So in short, like, you can read my response, but in short, I had to explain to them that, especially again in something as creative as voice acting, whatever, like, the thing that people forget is that you have to show up and elbow your way in. And like, think of it as like being in a concert in the pit, right? And then the show starts and people like rush towards the stage and it starts getting really tight. Mm-hmm. Your personal space is only as big as you make it. When I'm in a concert, my hands are on my hips, my elbows are out, my stance is wide. I make room for myself so I can breathe, and I'm 5'4". So I can see and I can breathe. I don't have like some hot sweaty dude breathing down my neck, because I make myself as big as possible. You have to acknowledge me. And that's what you have to do when you show up in a creative field where there's already a lot of other voices, opinions, and talent and names and experience that are known, and nobody knows you and nobody cares. That's fine. Just show up and elbow your way in until, oh, who's this? I've been here the whole time. You have? Yeah. Like there's this joke or saying in Hollywood that gets said a lot of, you're an overnight success after 10 years. Like people blame you, like, oh, where were you this whole? I was here the whole time. Like John Hamm of Mad Men, Don Draper.
Yeah.
He was a working actor doing bit parts for like 13, 14 years. Just doing day-to-day one-offs. Like, you can look at his IMDb. And then he got picked up for Mad Men. And then people are like, who is this majestic gem of a man actor sweeping us all off our feet like panties are dropping across nations and worlds and galaxies? And he's like, I was here the whole time.
Sure.
But he's like, I didn't quit just because I didn't get leading roles. I kept going because I could pay the rent. Like, for me also, like, if you're acting and you're paying the rent, you have already won. You already won the game. You're doing the thing for a living. Even if you're not, in a different tax bracket, are you eating? Are you healthy? Can you pay for your, in my case, my cat food or whatever, I've won. And everything else is gravy. And that also keeps you grounded and humble and smart about like perspective of what success is. Because if you start changing your definition of success, it's going to be a lot harder to fulfill the longer you go. So with this trans kid, I explained, first of all, you gotta show up and make room for yourself. You have to be confident enough and comfortable enough with yourself to answer when someone's like, well, what's so special about you? Why do I need you? What do you have that no one else has? And not be intimidated by that line of questioning. Because whether it's verbatim like that or suggested, every time I audition, I am being asked the question, why you? Why you? Why should I bother with you? I have like, anytime I audition, there's like 200 to 300 to 400 other women auditioning for the same role. Why should I bother? I'm probably not going to get it. The chances are really, really low that I should bother. I'm going to try anyway, because none of them are me, and I'm none of them, and you don't know. So I told them, you got to show up, you got to make space for yourself, you have to be stubborn about it, because over time people will have no choice but to acknowledge you. Meanwhile, of course, like working on your abilities and all that normal stuff that you know to do, but you hold fast and you hold your space. And then when it comes to something like VO, we're just not limited by our physicality or our gender or our presentation. Like I don't, whereas on camera, I could lose a job because my brows are bad or my arm's too fat. People lose jobs over that. That's why, like, when you go into cattle calls, like if you go into cattle call for a part anywhere in LA any day of the week, you'll see like 10 blonde women who look exactly the same. You cannot tell them apart. That is not racism. That is them fulfilling a casting notice. We want this height, this weight, this look. And then between those, like, say 10 blondes, they're all being scrutinized with like, well, why you? Why not her? Why should I bother with you? And then still stand up to that. Whereas in VO, you don't actually have to be the character that you're voicing. You just have to make us believe that you are that character. Right. And I always like, Bob's Burgers is just really easy because it's a popular show. A lot of people have seen it. Yeah. It's like well beloved. I can say it's successful, and I can point to it as like 2 of the leads are men playing women. Do you listen to that and be like, nah, I don't believe it. I know those guys. I know that I can hear penises swinging. It just ruins it. You don't dismiss Tina and Linda because those actors are like wholeheartly believing that they're Tina and Linda. And you don't question it because they're dudes. It has nothing to do with their gender or age. Most little boys in animation are played by adult women like Bart Simpson.
Absolutely.
And we weren't rejected because we're not actually little boys. It's the same thing with like age does not define what a voice should sound like. Like not all little kids, especially when you get into animation land where anything is possible, not all little kids sound like this. This because you don't have to, because you can be Tina, and like Tina's the freaking best. Yeah. So that's basically what my email was, of just like, you have to know who you are. You have to be comfortable being yourself. You have to be stubborn as hell and show up even when other people tell you you don't deserve to be here, or they don't know and don't care what's special about you. You also have to know that that's okay and that that's normal, and to not take it personally. Because if you're irreparably injured from that, you'll never come back. You just can't hack it. And then pretty soon stuff opens up, and then like I ended it with like I was happy that I got to drop this bomb on that kid. Yeah. That Jamie Clayton from Sense8, who is trans and plays a trans woman, is Gian Garson in Mass Effect and has been announced. Yeah. So it's like, you don't have to wait, and I actually don't know if Gian Garson is a trans character. I think it's just a woman, but I don't know. Don't quote me. And my point to that is like, because this kid is also, it's the same thing where you think, because I am this, I can only be that, and that all goes out the window in VO. So this kid was thinking very linearly of like, well, I'm trans. Do I have to wait for trans roles to come around? No, not at all. You just have to believe your performance so well that we're willing to pay you for it. That's it. That's the whole thing.
Wow.
So that, I mean, I was, feel very privileged that I had that opportunity. I mean, and hope, like, I I spread that around, and I hope it helps other people. That's like, I don't know. It's the only thing I can do.
I mean, if there's anybody out there that's listening right now and, they want to read that response in full, I mean, you just head over to frydawolff.com. I'm pretty sure that's under your pro tip section, the response that you posted. So you should head over there and read it. Because, I certainly, I had to sit down and read that, man. I ain't going to front, I felt heavy in the heart just because you see somebody about to count themselves out. And for no reason whatsoever. There's nothing wrong with him or her. And, just believe in what you got and what you want to be and what you want to do.
Well, can you imagine if I had just run it? You know what? You should quit. Just quit while you're ahead. But that's like what every shitty internet comment, tweet, harassment, email is and does. And it's like, it's teaching, especially kids, to be very callous and careless with each other every day. Which is why I said, like, of course I expect this kind of commentary as a woman. Like, I knew what I was signing up for. This isn't a surprise. It is what it is. Like, all I can do is just remind myself that I am so lucky that I don't have to clear my schedule for all these people that I'll never have sex with. I mean, what a blessing.
Oh, man. I mean, Fryda, it's been a genuine pleasure.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me. This is fun.
Yes.
Thank you for talking with us, man. Like,
It's a blast.
it was a I mean, you took me. I feel like you took my life to another level just now.
Yeah.
With life coaching, career advice, advice on being more tolerant, just all around the board. Thank you so much, Fryda. It has been a genuine honor, not a pleasure, an honor to have you on the Get Coins and Die Tryin podcast.
Well, thanks for having me. I mean, I know you all brought me on because of Mass Effect Andromeda, but it's nice to be acknowledged. I'm excited. I'm as excited to play Andromeda as everyone else because, like I was telling you guys earlier, like I don't know what the game's like.
Right.
Like people are so like the latest is, I mean, we're at the point where people are just climbing the walls, right? So people are making full blown articles out of developer tweets. Like today, Mike Gamble tweeted, and that means 3 pages of an article.
I mean,
and the latest
crazy.
thing is. Yeah, the latest thing is like they're really proud of their sex scenes just because they're animated well and they're put together
I've
and
seen that.
Everyone feels saucy because they're at that point of polish. And like, of course, people are coming back to me being like, "Do you have a comment?" And like I said when we first hooked up on the call, I can't wait to meet all the people I've had sex with in space because I don't know their names, I don't know where they are in the world, I don't even know what they look like, but I can't wait to meet them. It was really a great time for me. I hope it was as good for them.
Is there anybody you want to shout out from the Mass Effect Andromeda team that you want to show love to or anything like that?
Everybody. I mean, those guys and gals, they were crunching leading up to the holidays. They were all given a build of the game to go home and play, so they're still working even though they're off.
The holiday build, right?
Yeah,
right.
The holiday build. So they all went home, tested it, gathered their thoughts, came back to work, are still crunching. And so, like, I see them come out of the woodwork because I get these surges of followers, right? So like I can't keep up, but sometimes I see once in a while like works at BioWare, and I'm like, click instant family, and I go through their feed, and they're just like, I mean, you see I like BioWare is a lot better than a lot of other more abusive places where there's like mandatory 4 a.m. crunch, but I see these people like going home at 11 and 12, and because they want it to be good. So I just hope players, even if you have the coldest, blackest heart, that you remember that it is a miracle of the universe that, first of all, that anything makes it to ship. Sure. In general, in movies or whatever. Like, it takes so many people, so much money, and so much approval to get a thing out the door. And they're all pouring, like, you can see it online, they're all pouring their blood, sweat, and tears into it. They want it to be good. So I hope gamers remember that just like a lot of work, a lot of time spent away from families and all that went in. So like my shout out goes to the BioWare team. And I know Tom said this too, like
he did. I
mean, I worked my butt off, but I showed up for the party and the light lifting. I mean, I get to go, my time's up by 6:00 and I go home and that's it. And these guys are like pedal to the metal at this point. Yeah. So just like preemptively, congratulations and I love you to the BioWare team. And also, like, by the way, it's also every team. Like, again, like people are coming out of the woodwork to follow me. It's Edmonton and Montreal and Austin and whatever other hidden bunkers they have of worker bees, all converging and trying to get this thing out the door. So, I mean, just you earn that champagne bottle when you get it. I know it.
That's dope. I mean, you can just look at the games that BioWare has made, and you can tell that it's a labor of love, and that's why there's millions of fans who have gathered around these games so vehemently, just searching for information out of every morsel of information they can get. It's because they love what BioWare has done. We love it. I mean, me and Boyce,
some of our favorite games ever, honestly,
absolutely,
coming out of BioWare.
Absolutely, man. I mean, when I finished 3, man, I didn't know what to do with myself, man. Like, I had that video game depression, man. It's like, damn, I'm done. Like, I'm out.
I mean, before we heard of Andromeda, I mean, for quite some time, we were telling ourselves, man, we could go for another Mass Effect game. I wonder if they're gonna give us another entry in the title,
Absolutely.
franchises, and luckily, the team was hard at work secretly, but
yeah,
we're almost there.
I mean. Yeah, and it's a dream come true. And saying that being said, from Boyce, it's a dream come true to have you on here, talking with somebody who's worked on the project, someone whose voice we're gonna be hearing when the game comes out. So thank you once again. Wow, that was just.
Do you feel like we went through something, like we went on a journey?
Yes.
That's exactly how I feel, because I'm sitting here just smiling, because I'm just like, how do I even end? I feel like I don't even deserve to end this. I feel like I'm just cutting people off. Like, all right, guys, now you're done.
Again, thanks to you. Another check mark off the bucket list.
Thanks for having me.
Yes.
I look forward to hearing how you guys feel about Andromeda. Like I keep saying, like all you do whenever you give money for a book, a comic book, a movie or game, you're just handing money over and saying, please make me feel something. Please make me feel something, anything. Remind me I'm alive. So if you walk away with any sort of emotional aftermath, then I think we did our jobs. That's all I can ask for.
I mean, all I can say is, Fryda, we'd love to have you back on the show after the game comes out and talk to you about that.
Yeah,
anytime.
And
that's
now that I think about it, I think when the game comes out, I'm gonna try out Sara Ryder, and I'm gonna definitely be a murder hobo in space, renegade class.
Oh man!
And I'm gonna try and shoot as many things as I can, blow up as many things as I possibly can.
Then our playthroughs are going to be the same, let me tell you. It's going to be like the shortest Mass Effect speed run in history. Like, think about how it was for me. Like, the hard, honestly, the hardest part of that gig is there's so much when it comes to, non-consequential NPCs of so how long have you had this fruit stand? That's cool. Tell me more. Tell me about your family. What's your best fruit? What's your favorite fruit? I don't even like fruit. I should go. And making it sound like I still care and I'm just as interested when it's the 500th NPC and the 500th fruit stand. Man, that is hard. Well, I mean, that's harder than pretending to be in love or sad or.
Well, listen, you can rest assured, and I'm not just saying this because you're on here, but I mean, you're looking at. I think the two of us here are 100+ hour gamers when it comes to these Mass Effect games. So if there's any dialogue about fruit stands, we're probably gonna hear it. So
enjoy all my fruit stand inquiries.
I have made save files just to go back and replay something with alternate dialogue options, just because I just like experiencing that. So you know for sure we're gonna be in there for 100 hours at least. I would think.
You're gonna find out how everybody feels about their fruit stands.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to know about all the products. I want to know where they came from. I want to know the DNA of all those things. I want to know everything. I mean,
it's funny because it goes from how long have you been selling fruit? How long have you been married? And I'm like, Sarah, none of your goddamn business is the answer. None of your business, but then I wouldn't have a job, right?
Yeah. Well, I gotta ask you a quick question though. I'm gonna have to blow up your spot, kinda, because you told us that you didn't finish the Mass Effect trilogy, right?
No. Are
you gonna be able to get through Mass Effect Andromeda with all that dialogue?
I'm gonna try. I think I will, just because I mean you go in one actor and you come out another, and I just I went through so much emotionally. You also get Stockholm syndrome. Like earlier this week, I went to
Stockholm syndrome.
I went to one of the studios where we recorded a lot of the dialogue, and it felt really weird being there without my usual director and without my usual engineer. And I'm like, oh man, the Stockholm syndrome is strong. Feels so wrong being here without them. Because you get that trench warfare mentality,
Sure.
like just like you do. I mean, and I know this from like game development too. When you go through a lot with people and you do long hours and you kind of lose your minds together, that builds some lifetime bonds for sure.
Sure.
So I'm gonna play through the whole goddamn thing.
Would you entertain? How far did you get? First of all, I was gonna say, would you entertain going back to the original trilogy? But how far did you get in the trilogy before you tapped out?
I did like 2 hours of Mass Effect 2 over this holiday break, and I did like 80 minutes of the first one. And I'm a PC gamer, which is already working against me.
Yeah.
And then the first one, the second, like the auto duck, auto crouch was happening in common. I was like, I'm out. I can't do this. Just if you're gonna auto duck for cover for me, you have ruined my FPS game. Get out of my life. I can't do it. But also, like, that tells you a lot about me, though, doesn't it? Where like combat breaks my experience.
Yeah.
Like you can tell where my priorities lie, right?
Yes.
So,
definitely. Murder hobo. Yep.
Murder hobo number one.
Yep.
So no, I'll just have to work through my issues. I'm sure Andromeda will be fine.
Well,
because I know they've come a long way.
Yeah, I mean it looks great. It looks great, and that pre-order's getting slapped down with a lightning quickness, man. Lightning quickness.
Nice. I gotta do that too.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully you enjoy the experience playing. Hopefully you get through it. Because we want to hear your opinion. We're definitely going to grill you on your opinion about it. And we're going to find out how long you played the game, Fryda.
There's a test.
There's a test. Okay.
All right, fine.
You're obliged to finish this.
Fine.
But anyway, guys, this has been the Get Coins and Die Tryin podcast, the special episode of this podcast. You can find me, Hazy Rome, on Twitter at Hazy Rome. You can find Deep Boyce on Twitter at Deep Boyce. That's DEEP BOYCE. You can also follow the BGB's official Instagram and Twitter account at the BGB.com. You can also find this podcast on iTunes as well as youtube.com/GCDTcast. And of course, you can head over to the BGB.com to check it out there. And for those of you on Android, I ain't trying to forget y'all. You can check this out on Stitcher Radio or Google Play Music. Fryda Wolff, where can they find you?
They can find me at my name with too many F's, FrydaWolff.com, FRYDA, triple F for triple fun. And also at Twitter, Fryda Wolff. It's just my name. I'm real easy to find, and I'm real loud. But if you didn't figure that out by now, I can't help you.
All right, well, without further ado, Stizzle Stock. That's Boyce's Star Wars name, by the way.
Yeah, just listen, Fryda, I don't even know what to tell you. Just people slap names on me left and right. But listen, all I simply have to say is thank you, Fryda. Been most gracious. Very much appreciated. And everyone listening, if you haven't already, pre-order the game. Comes out March 21st of this year. If you're not playing this, then I don't know what you're doing.
No, I don't know what you're doing. 2017, this is what it's all about. Stizzle Stock, thank you for the deal, man. Thank you for the business, man. You want to tell people to hug their families? Because you always got to direct people to do.
Love your loved ones.
Go ahead.
Love your family. Kiss somebody. Hug somebody. Eat something delicious. Enjoy yourself. Take a break. Live life. Love it. We're only here once. We're on this ride just once. So just enjoy it as much as you can. And thank you for listening.
Thank you, Stizzo.
You're welcome.
You're great. You're as good a life coach as Fryda Wolff is.
No. Let's not lie now. Fryda Wolff is a fantastic life coach. All right.
I thought you did great. It's almost like you should be sponsored by a product that in some way enables lifestyle choices and warmth of home. I hope that works out for you.
Damn, just blew you out of the water. I mean, we should get her to close out every podcast from now on. But anyway, guys, we'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you guys for listening. Feel free to comment. Let us know what you think. Hit us up. Follow Fryda Wolff. Head over to her website. Check it out. Pro tips. She's got great things on the pro tip section of her website. And she's also got an amazing section of links and sources where you can learn how to be a voice actor if that's what you're into. And I'm sure there's many of you that are interested in doing that. But anyway, guys, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Have a good night. Have a good weekend. Have a good day. Whenever you're listening, enjoy yourselves, guys. And peace out.
See ya. Red Elm Tea. Do it up.